Just...
Hello, and before you get started on this episode of Zapped to the Past, we would just like to say thank you to the following people: Andy Marsh, Cole Hutchinson, David Hearn, Sven Oser, 2000 DC, Gary Heather, Roger McNally, Joshua Dove, Mark Fletcher, Etienne Wettingfield, Niall Bullitt, Alexander Gosling, and TJ. These awesome people have chosen to back our Patreon, and we are hugely appreciative of the support they offer. If you want to join them and get a mention in next month's shoutout, access to our Discord server and any special releases we put out, and probably some other cool stuff, then sign up by the 21st of the month at patreon.com/zapped to the past for little more than the price of a pint of beer. Believers, it really helps us out. Now, please enjoy this episode of Zapped to the Past. Hello and welcome to episode 52 of Zapped to the Past. My name is Adrian Mills and I am joined as ever by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you have not listened before, then this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zap 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zap 64 itself. This week, we're going to be starting our look at May 1987 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 25 of Zap 64, along with what was also going on in UK music that month. Graham, it is now your noble duty to inform the populace of what proclamations we shall henceforth issue.
In this recently refurbished village pub that now charges £9 for the olive and mixed bread starter, £6 for a pint of cooking lager, and has added afternoon tea to the menu of an episode, we adopt our versed Clint Eastwood-style German accent as we go on a daring gauntlet-style mission into the Eagle's Nest, avoid fork-thrusted sausages, and enter full Gaunch mode on the quest for a confiscated Walkman in the utterly dreadful Grange Hill, and bemoan the Edward Woodwardless, not set in New York Wonderboy-like stupidity of the Equalizer. We also break out some German comics for a change of pace, and try our hardest to get behind the lost-in-translation nonsense of the game Werner, take on some amazing side-scrolling space battles for some frantic multi-bullet madness in the amazing Nemesis, and, in a dramatic change of pace, quickly construct a racing yacht, crank our spinnakers, and head off on the high seas in the nauseous Sailing. If that pan-seared ocean salt-dipped tuna steak, dauphinoise potatoes and slapped parsnip compote for £22 hasn't made you rethink lunchtime cuisine, we also consider the game with no-name nonsense of the Silu-similar, blocky isomonotonous hop-along, SOS, go back and forth, picking up the poor Mabantis and escorting them to their new underground world in the monorail-tastic Armourdillo, and dig out our old martial arts pants, practice our best head kicks, and leap around the palace beating people up in the Kung Flop nonsense of Shao-Lin's Road. We also declare 8-bit war on yet another crappy Xevious-inspired shitstain with the utterly abysmal aftermath, before finally heading back into a gauntletty dungeon-like world, this time dressed as a frog, in the hoppy, but not always happy, world of Ranarama. There are some decent games in here, though in truth they are often hiding just behind the massive dog turd games. Ah well, for every yin there is a yang.
Heraldic. Good issuing.
The issuance was well received.
The populace have been proclaimed. Or whatever. Yes. Good noble duty there.
Yes, very good.
So there you go, yes. If I sound a bit bunged up, it's because I've got a cold. Sorry. I've lateral flow tested myself out the wazoo. It is just a cold, so
you don't have to do it from the wazoo, just the normal way through the nose.
Oh, that's not how I've done it. Maybe why it's not showing up then. that red line was very thick.
The wazoo test has proved to be negative for some reason.
Absolutely. So I don't think I'm breathing COVID into your earlugs.
No.
Earlugs? That's the same thing.
It's all good. It's all good. It's a symptom. It's all good.
It is. I get dumb under.
Delirium is a symptom of the if the dreaded, vid. It's okay. It's all
Oh,
good.
it is. Right, let's move. Let's get into this. We've got lots of games, lots of music. It's probably going to be another big episode, so let's crack in, shall we, with our first game?
Let's go.
Because our first game is this the only Sizzler this month?
Yes.
I think it is, isn't it? One of them, yes.
Yeah,
Is it the only Sizzler?
God, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is Into the Eagle's Nest. This is £8.95 and was 90% in this issue. So there we go. Let's have a look. What is Into the Eagle's Nest? Well, it's another month, and we have another Gauntlet variant. But are we in Druid Avenger territory here? Or are we plumbing the depths with another Dandy or Storm? All will be revealed as we talk about it over the next few minutes. Because that's what we do.
That is exactly what we do.
So Into the Eagle's Nest is a World War II Gauntlet variant, and it was designed and coded by Mr. Andrew Chalice, visuals by Robin Chapman, and music by Mr. Keith Harvey. It was, by the looks of it, the last game on the C64 designed by Andrew Chalice. He had already previously done, do you remember Trolley Wally? He did that.
Yes.
He did that. And he also did the playable loader games, Micro Painter and Micro Rescue.
Oh, Golf Clap.
So he did those as well.
Golf Clap needed there.
Just saying, he did them. And then he came back like a few years later and then did this. So anyway, Into the Eagle's Nest. So Into the Eagle's Nest, you have the job of rescuing 3 commandos who have been captured after trying to blow the titular fortress up, the fortress which is codenamed the Eagle's Nest. So, you're going into it, hence the title, I guess. That's what it means.
Self-explanatory, really.
So they're being held and they're being tortured there, and this is a huge fortress deep behind, enemy German lines. So there are 4 missions for you to choose from the start, which range from rescuing 1 prisoner to rescuing all 3 and setting off all the explosives that have been set on each level. Because that's what they got caught. The commandos went in, they set up some explosives, and in doing so, they were captured. But they did set up the explosives. They just didn't have time to kick them off and start the fireworks. That's your job. So you start the game on the ground floor, and you have to make your way around the fortress, which is presented in a top-down gauntlet style. We have standard gauntlet style, so looking straight down, vertical, straight down, gauntlet style. You are a green attired commando. And the fortress is chock full of grey-suited Nazis just waiting to be mown down. And they are waiting to be mown down in very, very orderly lines, which is very nice of them. Thought there's also much treasure to be found. And you can collect this for bonus points. The screen is split with the action on the kind of the left 3/4 of the screen. And the UI takes up the right-hand side, the right quarter. This UI shows how many keys you've collected, how much ammo you have, how many hits you have taken. You can take up to 50. You get hit 50 times, and it's game over. You only have 1 life, so don't let that get to 50.
Makes sense, really. 50 is a lot, generally.
It is, yeah, but is it bullets or slaps in this game? 50 slaps is not going to kill you.
German army slaps.
Oh, German army slaps, I suppose. Yeah, that sounds like a really painful playground game. Fancy a game of German army slaps? No,
I'll just play marbles. No.
All right, bend over. Not that marble.
And not Ben.
Where was I? You had 1 life. You had one
German army slaps. I think we
German army slaps. You need to find ammo as you go. You start off with 99 shots. Obviously, every shot it goes down by 1. You need to find more as you go to top up yours. You can only carry 99 bullets at any one time, so don't pick up more. You get a nice little scrolling message saying that's a waste, basically. And you can find food and medikits to reduce the number of German army slaps you have received, which is a bonus. But be careful, though, as there are also crates of explosives. And shooting these twice, because you first off shoot off the lid, and then if you shoot them again with a stray bullet, death. It's death for you. Everything blows up.
Don't shoot explosives. Don't do it.
Don't do it, yeah. So essentially, be careful with your shots. So this is a game of a bit of planning. You got to have a bit of patience here and a bit, plan where you're going. So there are 4 floors to the fortress. And to access them, you've got to first find the lift pass. So this means navigating your way around that first level, opening doors, and finding the lift pass. Once you get the lift pass, you can go to any of the other 3 levels as you see fit. There's the basement, floor 2 and floor 3. So this gives the game a kind of a good sense of freedom on how to approach it. You can go up, down, or however you want. It's up to you. It's fairly easy to understand and play. This is, it's not complicated. It's a real pick up and play title. You move left, up, down, right, and you shoot. So there's nothing too tricky about this. I thought it looked quite nice. I thought the graphics were really quite well defined. They're chunky, but they're well defined sprites. They look the part. The level visuals are well drawn. Everything looks the part. The floor's nice. The walls are nice. All the sort of the sort of tables, everything about it, it all looks good. This is a nicely well-drawn game. It moves at a decent pace, feels responsive to play, there's no problems with it. I quite like the fact you don't see your bullets like in other games, which is quite nice because you're firing bullets. So you have to shoot, every Nazi has to be shot twice because that's just,
They're a double bullet kind of thing.
Double bulleters. And so you don't see it. Traversing levels is easy enough. There are keys in the right places. I never ever found myself once in this game being stuck behind doors I couldn't open with the lack of keys. So, Avenger and what was the other one? Dandy?
Bloody Dandy.
Dandy and key. It wasn't, I'm stuck because I haven't picked up the right keys. No, there's none of that in this. You could always progress, and that's a good thing. So this is well designed. Because some doors you have to open with keys, and some doors you can shoot out. So they've color-coded you. Yellow ones you can shoot, grey ones you need a key, and that's good. That's a good thing. So I thought this was a really solid title. I don't really remember playing this much back in the day. One problem I have, there's one caveat with this game, and that is the scrolling. Because it doesn't follow the player so much, and it's not flick screen. It waits until you're near the edge of the playing area and then scrolls the next section on, which I thought was weird.
Scroll screen.
Strange. Yeah, it's a strange choice. I don't know why, just because obviously Gauntlet, we've had Gauntlet, Druid. I know Avenger it's kind of Avenger, but smaller, isn't it? And Avenger did a similar sort of thing, that flicked when you got to the edge of a screen. But this doesn't, it just waits till you get to the edge and then scrolls across or up or down, wherever. So what can happen is you can just have a load of Nazis suddenly appear that you didn't see coming. And that can be a bit of a problem because when they come up and they're very fresh with their slaps. So it can lead to loss of health quite quickly if you're not quite careful. So you need to be careful there. And I found that a bit annoying, and it just mars the flow of the gameplay somewhat. I thought because it's nice and smooth. All this, if it scrolled with you, I think this would have been great. I wouldn't have had a complaint about this whatsoever. It just needed that Gauntlet Druid style. I think if they'd have had that, this would have been certainly up there with Druid for me. Because I thought this was a really playable, really good looking, really good game. But I just don't like. I sort of equate that to like Amstrad style of scrolling. Because I've seen that in many Amstrad games, and I just didn't like it because it feels odd on the C64. It's not a massive deal breaker. You can still get quite far in it, and I did. And I had a good play of it, and I think it's deserving of its Sizzler. I just that little bit just annoyed me a little bit, and I wish it would scroll more smoothly. This is a really, really good game. One of the much better Gauntlet variants we have seen. It's strange that this got a Sizzler and Druid didn't. I think Druid is probably a better Gauntlet variant, but I think this is still a strong one and it's probably worth your time. What about you? Did you enjoy your time infiltrating the Eagle's Nest?
I did actually. I quite like this. I mean, it actually wasn't the game I expected. I don't quite know what I expected, but I didn't expect this. So I had a feeling in my back of my mind, I think I conflated it with an isometric game of some description, maybe.
Great Escape?
Yeah, Great Escape or something like that. I don't know why, but I did. So I came to this and realised that I'd played it but very, very, like not much back in the day. So I liked it. I liked the theme. I liked the Gauntlet style. I think it worked here. I think the graphics were nice. When you set a game in World War II, essentially, you've got really good delineation of the graphics. So, the enemy soldiers are going to look like Nazis. You're going to look like you do. It's probably going to be green versus grey, generally speaking, in the colour scheme. It kind of worked. The sprites look like they should. They look like soldiers in that kind of thing. The scrolling, it is scroll screen. It kind of worked. I agree with you completely. I think if this had been Druid style, it would have worked so much better. But it wasn't. But it kind of worked. And the whole maze-like nature of the game and running around. Okay, that is what it is. But there's a lot to like with this game. The thing is, what it didn't do was just try and replicate a Gauntlet style thematic. So it took it down to a one-player infiltration game where you've got to think about your ammunition and not shooting arbitrarily because you'll blow things up because there's explosives dotted about. I like the fact that it was set in there. You've got a good, strong colour base and stylistic for the graphics. There's plenty of stuff going on. There's loads of stuff to shoot. I think it's actually the most impressive Gauntlet style, and I use that term because it's that top-down kind of Gauntlet view. It's the most impressive version of that since Druid. And oddly enough, it's a game I hadn't played massively. I dabbled with it a bit, maybe back in the day, but I genuinely didn't remember a lot about it. So when I came to this, I was quite thinking, actually, this is not it isn't the game I expected. I liked the style and the presentation. The graphics were kind of interesting. I was able to go around infiltrate. It's a tough old game. You're gonna die a lot and play this game a lot. But I really quite like this, and I can see why it got the score that it did in Zap. It's a good little game, and there's a lot to like about it. The question I have is similar to yours in that I don't know how much playability a game of which is essentially a maze, gets, because you know the mainstay of the first level is to run around, shoot things, and find the lift. You know, you're wandering around a maze, shooting stuff in a kind of gauntlet-esque flick screen / scroll screen environment. Okay, but take the game at face value for what it is, and it's a good fun game, and I quite enjoyed playing it. And I was playing it for quite a while. You know, I hadn't played it a lot. I enjoyed it, so it's a good little game, this. And I think probably the best gauntlet-style game I've played since Druid, so fair play. Andrew Chalice and co, you've done a good little job here. It's good. Yeah, I like it.
One of the things it's just occurred to me, because it didn't occur to me at the time of playing it, is that this is reminiscent of the one of the games that was kind of, we haven't really mentioned when we talked about these gauntlet-style things. We mentioned Dandy, or that original one, but if we go back even further, the original Castle Wolfenstein, which is 1981 on the Apple, I think, which is a top-down maze game like this, where you're escaping from a Nazi compound. And so I think that there's elements of this. This is drawing from Gauntlet and the original Castle Wolfenstein and beyond Castle Wolfenstein, I think, is a sequel. And it's something we've not really mentioned, but, you know, I think maybe you always think when you think Wolfenstein, you just think id Software's Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
But you don't think, well, hang on a minute, that was actually a Gauntlet-style game in 1981.
You don't.
But it was. And so there you go. Just thought I'd throw that in there at the end. Good game, though. Yeah, I was pleased to play this. This was a nice opener.
Yeah, and I think there's a thematic, isn't there? It's Where Eagles Dare, isn't it? The film. This is kind of leaning on a little bit. So that's all good. That's all good. That works.
Yeah, Where Eagles Dare, definitely. Yeah. So shame you can't dual machine gun wield though, like Clint Eastwood.
That would be good. And Clint Eastwood, and that's the one where they do the really crap fake German accents, where they don't actually speak German; they just speak English with a German accent, right? You will pass me the, that kind of thing. It's terrible, really, but.
Yeah, you can't have Richard. It's Richard Burton, isn't it? Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood.
Richard Burton's such a great actor. So anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, good game. We like Into the Eagle's Nest.
Good start.
Nice start to May.
Yeah.
Do we reckon it'll continue?
No, because I know what's coming next, and it's shit.
You do.
Sorry, I feel like I've just dropped a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Massive spoiler turd just popped out. I'm sorry about that.
Well, with good cause. So let's move on into that spoiler turd. And Graham, take us back to the sausage-filled school antics of Grange Hill.
Sausage school.
It's sausage
This
school
game
now.
is so shit. It's unbelievable, really. All right. Okay. I feel like I've got my lion's share of the crap this particular episode.
Yeah, I do apologise for that.
No, you don't have to apologise. It's just the way it works out sometimes. So, in this game, you play Luke Gonch Gardner, which was a character in the Grange Hill TV series, which is essentially a soap opera based in a school of the late 70s to mid 80s. And you've got an extra character with you, which is Paul Holloway. So you play a character who has a character that runs about after him. The object of this game is to retrieve Gonch Gardner's Walkman, because it's been confiscated. And if his mum finds out, he's going to be in a big trouble. So you've got to go into the school, break into the school in classic Grange Hill tradition, and find said Walkman and get it back. Now, this isn't going to happen because this game is crap. So you're never going to do that. So firstly, let me say, right, no Grange Hill music for this game. Dave Whittaker did the music for this, and it doesn't feature the Grange. So the music for Grange Hill this time would have been doom doom doop 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 bam bam sausage doop doop doop. And I added that lyric, but that was the Grange Hill music, and it did change halfway through the 80s to something else. But this version of it's not a version of anything. I don't know what it is, but it's Dave Whittaker music. All right, and it's horrible. It's no good. So the graphics in this game, right? So the top half features a graphic representation of a person, medium res person, on a high res-ish background, and you have to sort of walk around and traverse said background to find the Walkman. Now, all right, I'm going to say that's as much as gameplay as I'm going to talk about, because this is a really weird mix of high res and medium res, which doesn't quite work. I thought you looked like a guy in a suit, like it didn't look like a school kid. And there's so many ways you could have drawn that sprite like a school kid, not like a guy in a suit. So, and the bottom half is a kind of a weird, weird raster bad line glitch that's in the middle of the screen, which is terrible, was the text area where text things happen. So when you first start this game, you get a big essay of text in Commodore font, classic Commodore font, and it gives you the idea of what the game is about. So, the game is essentially, oh my God, Gonch, you've lost your Walkman. What happened? Teacher took it off me. Why? Using it in the classroom. Really? We've got to get it back. I'm sparing you the nonsense of this crap. So when you get to it, you have to control Gonch using left or right of the joystick, and fire button makes him... Now, you can call this move a super lunge or some kind of jump if you like. But the first time I played this game, I walked left and died. Reminded me of Short Circuit, so I walked into my mother's house and she's like, you haven't got your Walkman, what are you doing? Dead. You only get one life. When I played the game again, I walked to the right and tripped over a rock and died. A rock in the pavement. It was like...
Paving slab, yeah.
Yeah, paving slab. Oh, there's a paving slab that's slightly raised, death. Okay. So then I climbed what I thought was a phone box, but it turns out it was a ladder. So then you can actually... the mainstay of this game is that it has an options menu as well. So it's not just about moving left and right. So this is I want to say point and click, but this is pointless and click.
Pointless and crap.
Pointless and crap. So you press your space bar, it brings up your options menu, where you've got items like pick up, drop, examine, use, take, give, talk, and exit. 90% of those don't do a thing in any constituent part of this game. None of them. So I found myself unable to really get very far into this game because it's reliant on you. There's the initial part, for example, you climb up the telephone box ladder, jump, if you call it a jump, across two platforms, and there's a gap. If you don't make that gap, you're dead. It's just ridiculous. You can't really get anywhere, and it's really badly drawn. The graphics are terrible. Everything's bad. This is dreadful in every respect. Even if you could avoid the instant kill things, which you won't, because the first time you wouldn't know that they were instant kill things, so you're going to spend at least the first half hour of playing this game just dying from tripping over a rock or walking into the wrong thing. And even if you were able to jump properly in this game, which you can't because you don't jump as much as like a sort of lunge forward, I think the controls are broken in this game. And I would argue that this felt unfinished, which means it's truly bad. For £9.95 at 90%, this game is an unfinished nightmare. It's a piece of crap. And considering, as we've said so many times with licensed things, there's so much stuff with Grange Hill. I mean, Grange Hill as a TV show in the UK goes back to, I think, 1976, 77.
Something like that, yeah.
Right back to Tucker Jenkins and all the different characters and all of the various things that it challenged. Now, the whole point of Grange Hill as a TV show was that it challenged the ideas of things that were happening at the time and made it palatable in a kind of a tweenish kind of way. Not even tweens, but maybe pre-tween kind of way. But you know what? This point in time, they were dealing with Zammo and stuff like that. In my time, it was Zammo and drugs. And it was just a soap opera designed to facilitate conversation around that kind of thing. This game elides all of that by making it about absolutely nothing to do with anything. I climbed a phone box, jumped over a gap and fell down a hole. I don't remember that ever happening in Grange Hill, ever. Everything about Grange Hill that made it the quirky kind of interesting sitcom-based BBC TV show that it was is missing from this piece of crap, and I hated it. And I can't imagine anyone would pay for this at 10 quid and think it was a good purchase. So I thought it was utterly crap. What about you?
Yeah, it's dreadful, isn't it? It's really dreadful.
Yeah.
It's not much more to say. I think you've outlined its many flaws and problems quite well there. Yeah, you play Gonch and your sidekick Hollow. Your Walkman's been confiscated by the maths teacher and you decide to break in and get it back. I have no idea what this has got to do with Grange Hill. Nor have any idea why anyone thought this was a good idea. The game looks terrible. Clunky, chunky sprites, rubbish backdrops. The music is the worst kind of Dave Whittaker loop that feels at odds with the game. as I put, where is the iconic Grange Hill tune? And the way the game plays with its stupid jump and bugs, and why is it game over if you trip on a paving slab? What kind of 15-year-old kid dies from tripping on a paving slab?
No.
It's just stupid. There's no internal logic here, or there's no attempt at quality control. It's just a mess of a thing. It's another stinker that joins Transformers in a long line of awful cash grab license tie-ins. My final note on this is, why the hell didn't they just rip off School Days?
Yeah, why? Why wouldn't you do that?
I mean, if you got Grange Hill, you've got School Days, you could probably make some there.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, did you bump into the drug pusher in the park?
No, I didn't get that far.
Yeah, there's a drug pusher in the park who just offers you some drugs, and then if you try to talk to him, it just goes no, no, no. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Does, yeah.
But it was very strange, very weird.
Because this game is arsehole.
It really is. This is cacola.
Yep.
So yeah, Grange. Shame really, because I imagine you could make something there with a bit of thought. You could make something interesting at Grange Hill. Like I said, School Days. It's already
Strange Hill.
been done. Just I don't know.
Crap Hill.
It's just crap. Really bad. Really bad. Let's move along.
Yeah, let's do it.
And let's talk about Edward Woodward.
Woodward.
Because our next game is the Equalizer. So anyway, so what's the Equalizer? Now, my first note is it more disappointing, it's a question, to have this game not actually be about Edward Woodward, than to have this game be about Edward Woodward and to have been crap, which it likely would have been.
That's a lot of Woodward and would have been.
And it's really hard to say repeatedly. So if this was a crappy Equalizer tie-in, we know it would be crap. Is it worse to have this game disappoint you, not be about that, or not be about that and be...
Well,
anyway.
I would rather it was about that and crap than this.
Okay, so and then the next question, is there actually an Equalizer game for the C64?
Google.
Someone let us know, 'cause I don't know. It sounds like there should be. I mean, there's that crappy A-Team game, which clearly wasn't an A-Team game, but anyway. But yeah, so this is not a game based on shady men in lifts and people backlit by their car headlights. No, this is weirdly a Wonder Boy knockoff.
Yeah.
It's like, where did the name Equalizer come from?
Did we look at this as part of the... was this a crapvert that we looked at?
No, I don't think so, no. So the original Wonder Boy came out in 1986 in the arcades, and this is just a version of that. So it was a Sega game. It's just a version of that for the C64 with a stupid name. So you play a caveman whose girlfriend has been captured in that Mario style, whatever. The princess has been captured, blah, blah, blah. And off you set to rescue her. So this is a bi-directional scroller where you walk along a flat path and shoot anything that comes towards you, or you jump over it. And that's it, really. So it's that kind of just walk along, nameless animals, myriad of animals just wander along at you, and you can shoot them. I think it's to throw your axe, supposedly, but or whatever it is, but you don't like an axe or a club or whatever it's supposed to be. You have an infinite supply of these, so you just keep shooting and jumping and bouncing. There's gaps to shoot and whatever. There's fruit to collect, and when you get to the end of the level, you collect the heart at the end of the level, and this takes you to the next, more, should we say, challenging level, where there are more gaps, moving platforms, and more enemies to kill. It's a simple arcade clone. Not even dressed up in any kind of interesting fancy trousers. This looks like Wonder Boy, weirdly. The main sprite is a bit chunky, but the backgrounds are okay in an arcade kind of way, C64 arcade style. But the collision detection, oh god, it's all over the place. And there isn't much more to this aside from run along and jump and shoot. And it gets dull very quickly. It's not terrible. It got 60%. I think it's been a bit generous. It's bang on average for me. It's just in that 45 to 55 bracket. If you wanted a passable version of Wonder Boy in the 64, here it is, I guess. If you're desperate to play something that resembles Wonder Boy by this point, it's just a bit twee in the middle of the road. So, which in the end is kind of like Wonder Boy. I was never a massive Wonder Boy fan, I have to say. So there's no real surprises here. It's just that strange name. I found this there's not a lot to say about it. It's just a passable version of a clone of Wonder Boy in the grand scheme of things, where it works, but the collision detection's off. Don't know. Did you get anything from it? Or did you think it was rubbish?
No, this is just a crap Wonder Boy clone, like you say. Jump and run, Mario style. Graphics were, I guess, passable at best in terms of background graphics. They look kind of like the thing they were meant to look like. The music is just bloody horrible for this. It just made the game difficult to endure. It was this, God knows what you can call that genre. It was like... it was just horrible. Scrolling speed was quite nippy. Background graphics, again, like I say, passable. Main sprite was I thought pretty bad. The enemies were generally kind of badly drawn. It's just Wonder Boy, so you're walking across, jumping and avoiding stuff. The object of this game was to collect all the fruit on the level. It's not immediately obvious that that's what it is, because the graphics aren't what you call great. And then you've got to avoid the nasties, the lizards, the snails, the bouncing jellyfish. I don't know. I just didn't find it very good. I find it weird that you fired sperm from your belly button at enemies on this. It kind of wigged me out a bit. Because you do.
You mean you don't?
Well, that's not as far as I'm aware. But that, in this game, it says in the instructions you fire some kind of liquid from your belly button, and that doesn't change throughout. Because the idea of this is that as you progress through the game, you get more equalized, so you become the Equalizer towards the end of the game. Now, I never got that far into it to see if that made it change.
16 levels in there.
Yeah, and I don't believe it did change. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it did. So I just think it becomes harder and harder to endure as opposed to evolve. So eventually you might become the Equalizer, and maybe you do, and maybe you stop people getting harassed in New York elevators. Who knows? But I doubt that this game's the precursor to that. It's $1.99. That's the main saving grace of this, that you're only paying £2 for this piece of crap. So... and that's a bit of a theme for this episode of the podcast, but
it's probably why you got 60%.
It is, but I just found it really bitty and nasty, and just it was a $1.99 version of Wonder Boy. What do you expect for that? You know what you get? What you get is a crappy, badly drawn version of Wonder Boy where he shoots spunk out of his belly button. Nobody wants that, and I certainly didn't. So it can get lost. No, thank you.
I didn't actually realise that. I thought it was just he's supposed to be firing a club or something.
No, he shoots he shoots a secreted liquid from his belly button. Rancid. Nobody wants any liquid come from their belly button, ever. Nobody.
The Equalizer.
Nope. Oh, jeez. Nobody does. If you were sat of an evening just minding your own business and then just jelly-like liquid started secreting from your belly button, you'd be perturbed, as would everyone else. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So, no. Just wrong.
No, that's called a medical emergency.
It absolutely is.
I'm starting to think that his girlfriend has run off and has not been captured. She's fed up of being
would it surprise you? The Equalizer is... Why do they call it that? It's just such a stupid name.
It is a stupid name. Anyway. And he's obviously playing on the Edward Woodward.
It is a bit, but the advert was but
it makes no sense.
That kind of it was that kind of Neolithic image of, I think it's Da Vinci, but it's that Neolithic image of crouched cave dude to walking upright guy, that kind of, I think it was that on the advert. I don't know how that equates to this garbage. I don't know.
Oh man, I might have to dig that out and have a look.
But at every stage of that evolution, you can shoot sperm from your belly button.
Maybe that's the missing link.
I've never wanted to.
Science hasn't discovered.
I've never wanted to do that either. It would be embarrassing, and you'd get through a lot of shirts if you were in popular company and some beautiful person that you really like, whatever your preference, comes along and you are spunking in your shirt through your belly button. Without sounding gross, that's just not.
So you've got this. Hang on. You can't say that without after just saying that. Because you are gross.
I'm just trying not to be, but there's no way around it. No, the Equalizer has presented us with a situation which we weren't familiar with, which is the belly spunk, and I'm just horrified by it. I can't get my head around that.
Let's move on quickly.
I think we have to very quickly.
Let's clean our shirts and move on to
another quickly.
Another pile of crap.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So that was a playable game at least. This one coming up, Werner.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus Christ.
This is just stupid crap. So I don't know much about Werner, which I'm guessing Werner, because it's basically a German game, I think. And the character of Werner is some kind of German comic character that clearly gets into hijinks and fun, and there's a look to this. So this is based around the character of Werner, and this game is essentially a multi-game. So it's a game involving Werner in multiple situations. So you start the game, and it took me ages to figure this out. It starts, and you're just presented with that kind of a goofy, bald character, and you have to actually press your button repeatedly till your beer pops on the right. And then somebody shouts Mach hin, which is hurry up in German. And then you can choose your language. All right, I'm just going to go with logic of this stupid crap. So you choose English. I chose English. You could choose German if you wanted. And then you're presented with your choice at the menu, which is 5 different games. Now, I am not going to translate or try and pronounce the German versions of these. I'm just going to go with what I was presented with, which was the English version. So you can choose from Diddling, we'll come to that, Motor Ride, Panic Tour, Motorbike Assembly, Drive in the Fog, and that's it. And all of the above, essentially. So this is a game where you, once you've popped your beer cork, you can choose from one of these games or all of them. So Diddling, by the way, is a version of a German game called Moyer, which is some kind of dice game. I have to say, I entered this with no clue as to what the hell was going on. And it's some kind of bluffing game. So somebody throws dice and you have to guess the numbers on the dice and is it true, is it bluff? And who cares? Who cares what it is? What it was to me was a large image of the same Werner from the previous Pop Your Cork thing, just periodically looking kind of grumpy or unhappy at what I was doing. It made no sense whatsoever, and I didn't enjoy playing it, and I wasn't sure what I was doing. And maybe it's just because I'm not buying into the whole Werner thing. Anyway, so there is this game that you can choose anyway. When you go back to the menu, you can play the other games. Motor Ride is a side... Now, we're going to use these terms pretty loosely. A side-scrolling drive in which you've got to avoid obstacles by accelerating or ducking. In my experience of this badly drawn graphic nightmare, this was a weird-to-control, badly drawn piece of crap that I had no idea really what I was doing other than trying to avoid stuff, maybe. It's awful. I can't explain how bad it is. It felt unfinished. This was an unfinished... The graphics on these things are badly drawn, badly realised. It makes no sense what you're doing. It's just clearly... If you really know what this Werner thing is, maybe there's a thing for you, but even then I would doubt that. The second game you can play is called Panic Tour in English, which is where it's essentially the same as the first game, exactly the same as the first game, but you've got to pick up and use objects at the right time. And again, you can't control it. It doesn't respond in the way you think it should, and you can't do anything. So it's just, again, you just go, wah, wah, wah. You get a lot of negative sound effects. You know, you're not going to make it. The next game, which is Motorbike Assembly, is the stupidest game of all time.
It's not a game.
So you have an array of motorbike parts graphically displayed in a scrolling item at the top, which you can scroll with your joystick. You have 12 attempts to correctly guess the items that you need to make a motorbike. If you don't get them, then the game ends. And there is no way, there's quite a lot of parts in this, there's no way you're going to know what that is. It's just the stupidest game idea of all time. It's crap. It's really, really stupid. Really, really, really stupid. So even if you make it past the Motorbike Assembly in some meaningful way, which you won't, because you've got 12 guesses to guess at 500 random motorbike parts, of which I tried 12 guesses on my first attempt and got none. So even if you make it past that, the follow-up game to that in this list of crap is what's called Drive in the Fog, which is where you've got a floating, badly drawn motorcycle in the main view of the screen, hovering around, maybe avoiding things. I don't know how you did that. Just floats through the air and it just ends. This is utterly, utterly dreadful. I cannot imagine a world where anyone would buy this for $9.95 and feel happy about themselves. It is awful. And even if this was a licensed game, and Werner was the greatest licensed character of all time, it would still be utterly shit. I cannot and do not understand where this has come from. Zapped gave it 10%. I think they were being really generous. I would have given this 0. I wouldn't have reviewed it, actually. But since they did, I'd have given this in the 1 or 2 or 3. This is utterly crap. Maybe they gave it 10% because some of the graphics and the main sprites at the opening sequences are quite well drawn, I suppose, for what they are. But honestly, I never came across this back then. Why would I? And I didn't come across it till I'd played it for this. And honestly, it's utterly shit. It's really bad. So 1987, Werner, no. Just no. Crap. No. And I'm assuming that you
9.
felt the 9. Assuming you felt the same.
I did, yeah. This is not even a game, is it? The fact it got made in the first place is baffling. That it then got pressed to a disc is confounding. That it got sent in for review is befuddling. and then it got reviewed and scored 10%. It's bewildering. I don't understand it. It's barely a game, and rather some large things happening on blue backgrounds. None of it makes any sense. And I know it's based on a German comic character or something, so maybe you need to be German to be in on the joke. But I'm not, and I don't want to be. And I want no part of a game with a section called diddling. None.
No.
This is shocking, and probably the worst thing we have ever looked at. You know, we've looked at some shockingly shite shit, but this is. I think this might be the worst. I don't know. We keep saying this, but something keeps like holding my beer and getting even worse. You know, we talked about how bad Transformers was, and I was thinking, good Lord, that's going to take some beating for the arse of the year, whatever it is, when we come to the awards at the back end. But there's some competition there now, isn't there?
There is, and this is amongst the competition. Who QAs this? Which I mean, no disrespect to anybody in Germany, but they can't be happy with it either.
No, who would be? Dreadful. Awful. Let's waste no more time on Werner, and let's move on to our last game of this section. All right, yeah, so our next game, our last game for this section, an interesting one, a big one. This is Nemesis. So this is from Konami. This is $8.95 and got an 80% rating. So this is an interesting release and game, and for quite a few reasons. So Nemesis is the international name for the Japanese arcade release Gradius. So Nemesis or Gradius is an arcade release by Konami. It came out in 1985 and was originally while in development was called Scramble 2. It was intended as a sequel to Konami's earlier game Scramble. So it was designed internally at Konami by Machiguchi Hiroyasu and was his first game to be released.
Wow.
Well, that's according to the wiki on this, and it was released for Konami's Bubble system in the arcade. That was their arcade system basically. And it is cited, along with Xevious, as one of the most important games in shoot-'em-up history.
Yes.
And it's quite easy to see why. So there you go. That's your history. That's the story. That's the history to this game. There is a story to this game. I don't know whether it's in the arcade or whether it's just for the home release, but it's perfunctory at best. You are the last hope of planet Nemesis, and they are being attacked by the evil beings from the subspace star cluster of Bacterion. And you lead a squad of 3 Vic Vipers, which I love the name Vic Viper for a spaceship, in a daring mission to see off the Bacterians once and for all. That's it. That's all you need. That's it. So what is Nemesis? Nemesis is a left-to-right scrolling shoot-'em-up, and in 1985, and really did set the benchmark for everything that was to come after it. It was a massive, this is what it can do. Look at this. The arcade's visuals were bright and bold. The action was frenetic and constant, and the sound design was amazing. On top, I loved the arcade. It was a beast of a hit. And was the biggest grossing arcade in London, which is very oddly specific, in 1986.
Really specific.
Well, this is all off the Wikipedia article sort of thing, so take that as you will. It probably means England, maybe. It was a massive hit in the arcade, so Konami, it made them lots of money and was very big. Here in 1987, we have the C64 version, and after the horror that was Jailbreak, Konami have hired Simon Pick to do this conversion. So Simon Pick did Mad Nurse. Weird her. Micro Rhythm and Daredevil Dennis before this. So I'm really curious as to how he got this gig. Why would it's crazy.
He's competent as a coder.
Well, yeah, clearly, yeah. So there's an interview. I did a little bit digging around, and there's an interview from 2003 on Lemon 64 with Simon. It doesn't mention Nemesis very much, but there is an interesting quote from him saying that programming Nemesis and then going to college the next day was the worst memory he had from making games.
Ouch.
So he was 37 when he was interviewed for this. So that was 2003, so that was 16 years prior, so he was 21 when he made this. So it's quite impressive, I think. And it seems to think that he did the whole thing on his own by the looks of it. And I think, it just goes to show what the industry was like back then. Kind of crazy that you just got this college guy making the conversion of one of the biggest arcade games ever. It's just really strange. So what makes this special? What is it about Nemesis? Before we get to the C64 version, aside from the quality of the levels, this was one of the first games to introduce power-ups in a really meaningful and player-directed way, and I think that's really quite important. Some aliens, when shot, or when entire waves of them are shot, will drop power-ups. So along the bottom of the screen, you have your list of power-ups. These are speed-up, missile, double, laser, multiple, and a question mark. Collecting one power-up allows you to activate speed up, but collect another and you can have missiles, which rain down on the ground below, a la Scramble, and sort of scoot along it. Remember, it's Scramble heritage and so on. So as you build up, we spoke about this very similar to, you can see Delta just nicked this. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. Delta just took this wholesale, except didn't do it quite as well. Because here, you don't lose powers for one thing like you did in Delta. So it's up to you as the player to choose which power-up suit your style. Double basically fires upwards at an angle. Laser gives you a laser beam. Multiple gives you a little satellite that sort of tracks after you and fires just like you do. And on the C64 version, you can have two multiples. So you can have two trails after you. I think in the arcade you can have three. But it's not, it is what it is, sort of thing. So this is, you choose how you want to play. I think you can have up to 4 of those in play at any one time. So apart from your speed ups, and really you want to stop after 2 speed ups. That's fast enough, really. The next one is crazy fast, and it's almost too fast. So get the double, get the missile, and get a multiple. You're good to go, really. Nothing's going to stand in your way. So then, and that's great. So it opened up the genre sort of thing for games to come. You could see loads of games coming after this. And this was obviously the first in a trilogy. From Nemesis, you had Salamander, and then Vulcan Venture, Gradius 1 and 2 and 3 in the arcades in Japan. So the good thing is that the C64 version pretty much has everything in it. It's a really, really impressive conversion, this. It has all these things from the arcade in it. This is really, really impressive. It moves fast. It's very comparable to the arcade, has all the recognised patterns and aliens in it, from the waves, the single ones, the ground-based enemies, the ceiling-based enemies, the little bases that fire, spawn enemies come at you, the bouncing ones. The levels are very, very similar. I'm not quite sure if they're quite as long, but they're very, very similar. The end level sequences are mostly there with the sort of, it's hard, so with the sort of the sequence at the end of the first one with the volcanoes erupting, the end level bosses are there, they've all got the same mechanics, it's all there, and it's all in one load too, and it's all continuous. This is really quite impressive. The music's accurate to the arcade. I thought I recognised it, and I was like, yeah, that's nice. You do have to choose between music and sound effects, but the feel of Nemesis is here. This is a great arcade conversion, I thought. The only thing is, okay, and I don't know, you might know about more of this, something. Is the version that we have just played, that was in our folder that we put there, is that the one that came out at the time? Has there been some kind of touching up done to this over time? Because, I'll just come to this, in the review, Zap single out the flickeriness of the sprites, and I watched a YouTube playthrough as well, and the flickering sprites, it's really bad. Now, the version we played does a little bit, but it was pretty solid. Not too much, but I thought it was pretty solid. So I'm not sure if this is the same one that was released back then, or whether somebody's come in and fixed some of the bugs and tightened it up a bit, or maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, so caveat this review with the fact that I am not quite sure if the version I have played is the one that was released in 1987, or whether it has been tidied up somewhat behind the scenes. There was no mention of it in the crack that we wrote, the version that we played. So it's, I don't know. I haven't got the original hardware to go back and play the original. Someone may be able to tell us differently. What I can say, though, is this version, the one we played, it's a really good, solid blaster, and it really does the Nemesis arcade game justice. There are a couple of downsides. I don't know why you selected right shift to activate the powers. There's a massive space bar there to hit. Yeah. Hit the space bar. When I was first playing it, I was like, what button is it? And then I had a look, and that's weird. Also, if you die in the middle of the level, the arcade game, because I went and played the arcade game as well, because I wanted to sort of compare and contrast. And yes, the arcade game is a lot more, bells and whistles to it and, all that sort of thing, but it's very comparable. When you die in the middle of a level, the arcade game gives you loads of red enemies to shoot, which all drop loads. You get about 10 to 15 power-ups to all hoover up, get your powers back up. This has 2. So you're kind of a bit screwed if you get to a mid-level, because you're neither fast enough nor have enough power to really get through the level, and that's kind of a bit of a downside. It would have been nice to have those multiple enemies come on to shoot you to get back up to power. So yeah, it's not enough. That's a bit of a problem. However, if you do power up enough, you'll scoot through the levels, and it's a really good feeling to have all that power. One of the things this does do differently to the arcade, the missile is on a different button. So obviously 2-button control in the arcade, and the missile's on a different button, so you shoot and think. This just gives you everything on a single button, and the amount of power you feel from when you've got like a multiple, double, missiles raining down, firing out everywhere. Oh, it's great. It's ace. This is probably one of the best shoot-em-ups we've played, left to right scrolling shoot-em-ups I played on the C64 in this replay. I loved it, but I don't know if it's the one that came out then. That's all I can say. I loved this. I thought it was great. And ironically and strangely, I have no memory of ever playing this version back in the day.
Wow.
None.
Okay.
So I loved it, and I loved the arcade. So either the version back then was just so bad I didn't play much of it because it was so flickery, and it's just gone from my memory, or I don't know. What did you find? Do you know anything more on that than I do? Or?
Well, firstly, I don't remember the original game being that flickery.
That's good.
So this is a very competent side-scrolling shooter. Now, I think I played this before I played most other side-scrolling shooters, including Delta. I think I got this. For some reason, I got this first. So I have always had a bit of a soft spot for it. I like the music. I like the way it worked. I like the sort of challenge of the power-ups. I like the way that it all worked. I think the graphics are very well realised, and there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of variation. It's a lot of moving parts here, and the scrolling is slow, but you can nip around the screen pretty quick, as long as you get the right power-ups. I can't but feel that the spacebar would have been a better option for the upgrade
weird,
button rather than the right shift. But okay, hey-ho. The gameplay, it's tight, and it's not as complete as the arcade experience, but it's actually, I think it's a pretty good version of this. The music has always been good. I quite like the way it's a version of the music, and it's quite good. And yes, you can choose between the music and the sound effects. Okay. I would have liked to have had a bit of both, I think, but it kind of works in the way that it does. The demon in here of, a pattern repeat game, and could we argue the same argument that we made for Delta in that sense, which is, is this a game where you're in control of your ship, or are you just remembering the patterns of the things that you encounter? I think there's a bit more randomness. To
this.
I think there is to this. So I'm not sure that wholly applies here, but Delta was such a variant of this game that it shows you how important this game and its arcade heritage in all the variants of it are. So Zapped criticised this for being a bit unfinished in their estimation, and I'm not sure what version they played, and that it only had a few levels. I think there's 5 levels in this version, and I don't know how many there are in the arcade, and maybe it's maybe there's no argument for that. My experience of this, I don't remember ever encountering slowdown in this game back in the day and now. I don't remember my prevailing memory of playing Nemesis is not one of bad graphic slowdown or basically what would be a bad line, raster time, problems with multiplexing. I don't remember that. So I have to say that if those are not the bugs and I don't believe the version I played was corrected in that way, because they normally make mention of that kind of thing, then this is a pretty good game. There's a lot of movement of sprites on the screen. There's a lot of detail. There's, when you're playing with all the various power-ups and you've got the multi-bullets, there's a lot of bullets flying around and there's no slowdown. The game just carries on regardless. I like that about this. So I think this came out when it was about to give Delta a really good run for its money. Delta had the music and it had the show and tell, and it had that kind of thing. This one, it's very, what's the word? I think it's, when you start this game, it's uninspiring, to say the least. It doesn't look like a game that has a lot of depth. It's just Nemesis, start the game, play 1, 2, 3 or 4 player.
Yeah.
No, it's very simple, but there is a lot here. And I think as the arcade is, this is one of the greatest shoot-'em-up games of all time on the Commodore 64, and really playable, and in spite of all the basic bits that sort of tweak around the edges with music and some of the stuff, the graphics are great, it plays really well, you've got everything to go for. I really, really like this. There is a really nice feeling about getting those multiples on this game when you get a couple of them, and they're shooting, because it doesn't seem to slow the game down. For me, it didn't. There's no real difficulty. It just feels like you've powered up properly. Now, that's a nice feeling in these ship. You need to feel like you've powered up properly, that your ship has achieved some bigger status, and that the things you're doing have multiple firing options and everything else. Because if you don't have that, it just feels a little bit like it's a slog. When you have that, you feel like, oh, now I'm going to take on these extra levels and do the extra stuff. Makes you want to progress. That's a very important thing in these games, because the logic of the game is actually at its heart very simple. A great, great game, Nemesis.
Yeah, I think the difference between this and Delta is that you can, if you go down the laser route or the double and the missile route, each one is equally a viable route to go down to complete the game and to get through the levels and everything. Yeah. Whereas in Delta, it's always about you have to have this thing at this point, seemingly, to get through stuff. Whereas this is like, no, this is more about you and your reaction and being able to, because the enemies are not always programmed. Some of them will bounce, they'll shoot, they'll stop, and they'll do stuff that you're not quite expecting. Delta seems very programmed.
Yes,
This
no,
is,
no,
as you
absolutely.
said, randomness.
Delta suffers from the problem we acknowledged when we did the review of it, which is that a prescribed nature of the power-ups is a massive problem, because if you don't know that, then you're never going to be able to achieve that. This doesn't have that problem. It is not based around that stupid logic, nor does it have the crazy Delta logic of a level where you're just flying at walls at a high speed, and if you don't have the power-up, you're dead. It doesn't have that. I have always liked Nemesis. It's a great game, Nemesis. It's just... I think it's a little bit... I think because it feels underplayed when you start it up and you get that Nemesis graphic and the Starfield. And
Yeah.
I think it's easy to write it off as, no, it's just, maybe it's not as good, but this is a game worth
really
playing.
is.
It is, really is
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Well, the three games, Nemesis, I mean, over here, what they were, Nemesis, Salamander, and Vulcan Venture, have always been my three favourite shoot-em-ups in the arcade.
Absolutely, and it's only beaten by, I think, something like Catechus, really, later down the line, so...
Which is our type, isn't it?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
There we go. Nemesis. We like Nemesis, and we liked Into the Eagle's Nest. We didn't particularly like Grange Hill, Equalizer, and we certainly didn't like Werner.
Lack of thrust-forked sausage with Grange Hill.
Indeed. So there you go. That's our games for this first section. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back soon, where we'll be looking at music in May 1987. So please stay with us.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Growing up in the 80s is a chore for Sarah, who feels misunderstood by her parents and badgered by Reese, her bothersome brother who incessantly prattles on about his treasured computer games. When Reese tells her one of the games tried to pull him inside the computer, she laughs off his fanciful fib. She waggles the joystick to disprove his fairy tale and is pulled into the computer. Now trapped in games she'd never had any interest in playing, how can she possibly beat them? With the help of feisty Nell, another trapped player, can Sarah find her way back home, or is it game over? An evil madman, a hostile planet, bloodthirsty robots, a never-ending throng of karate experts, and relentless digital soldiers will do their best to ensure Sarah never escapes. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, find out if there's a way out of the beige bread bin of betrayal for Sarah in Escape from the Commodore 64.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome to my musical abode, where we can talk about music. We can talk about music all night long.
In the merry month of May. This is the month of May, the merry, merry month of May.
A merry, merry month of May where we will masticate about music.
Yes, fa-la-la-la-la.
But right, come on, music. Let's get into music. Number one singles for the first 4 weeks of May, because May had 5 Mondays. Or five weeks anyway, whatever. There was Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship for the first 4 weeks.
Nothing did stop them, did it? Big
massive song. Big
huge,
song. All
huge.
of May. Yeah, obviously, people really like that because of Mannequin. But Mannequin hasn't been out of the cinema yet. We haven't mentioned Mannequin yet, have we?
No, it's not come across our radar, but I think this song, it's a good song, so I think people liked it.
It is. It is a great song. For the last week, though, another massive tune, which I'm sure will continue into June, is I Want to Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me by Whitney Houston.
Oh, the huge song.
What a song.
Yeah,
what a song.
There's no denying it's Whitney Houston at her peak. The vocals are incredible for this song.
They really are.
And it's a good song, isn't it? And it's full of energy. It is
massive energy.
Huge energy. So
Yep.
Can't deny that. In fact, if you put this track, CD, single, whichever you've got, near a lamp, it'll just switch that lamp on and it will illuminate a room. Even if you take the bulb out, that will happen. So just be wary of that. It's a very powerful energy song.
It will illuminate your room no matter what. So that's actually quite a good couple of singles, isn't it?
Yeah.
The number one albums are probably not quite as good.
No, they're not.
First number one album for the first 2 weeks, Keep Your Distance by Curiosity Killed the Cat.
I don't like them. I don't like anything about it.
Blandcore.
Yeah, it's bland cut and it's focused on one specific animal. Curiosity can kill all sorts of animals. Just be wary of Curiosity generally.
Absolutely. And as you noted here, I followed their advice and never fell into their feline murdering trap.
I don't get involved.
Carried on in our blandcore nightmare for the next 2 weeks with It's Better to Travel from Swing Out Sister.
What are they and why? I know Breakout, but I don't want to know anything else.
I don't care about them. But what is but it's better to travel than what?
Yeah, this is a good question. Better travel than what? Travel than arrive?
What is it better than? Better than sort of eating?
I don't know. I remember a very wide grin of the girl singer from...
Yeah, she had a bit of a shark mouth, didn't she?
Yeah, very shark. Very Bruce from...
Jaws.
Yeah.
When she walked into the room, people just went, no.
Thinking Bruce from Finding Nemo, but yeah, that.
That's why it's called Bruce, isn't it? And for the last week, more bland nonsense with Live, or is it Live, in the City of Light by Smipplemans for 1 week.
Simple Minds, just what are they? Why?
They're dull, as you've noted. They're dull.
No wonder. You call your band Simple Minds, and you know what your audience is going to be. You're laying out the benchmark for that.
But I would say, though, at this point, they have probably lost their sponsorship deal with German sweet manufacturers, I'm hoping.
I would hope so. Smipplemans.
Smipplemans, yeah. Sit on your grandfather's lap and have a Smippleman.
Their music is so dull at this point that they unpolish silverware if it's played in the same room. So if you've got a nice candelabra, just watch out because it's going to end up all rusty and nasty.
It really will do,
crazy, stupid crap.
Be covered in Smippleman gunk. Yeah. Anyway, that's your number ones. What have we got in singles? So 3rd of May. In at number 23, we have Strange Love by Depeche Mode. Good song, this. Yes. Really good song.
Yeah.
Strange love, stranger than strange love.
It's kind of classic Mode, isn't it, this?
That one.
It's the lead single off their 6th album, which was Music for the Masses. It's the cusp. I'd want to say it's the cusp of Depeche Mode, but this is a really good album by them, and it's a really good track by them. But after this, I think they changed direction a bit because
next is Violator, isn't it? Is
maybe. Violator
the album after this?
I think it is, but I'm not sure that there's.
Oh no, it'd be 101, wouldn't it? Or they already had 101.
I don't know. Remember. I don't know, but I think the mainstay of what I'm thinking is that the kind of thematic of Depeche Mode was changing at this point.
Yeah.
So they're becoming less kind of like synthy pop sort of stuff with a bit of techno gothy stuff inspired in there. And they were changing into something that they became later down the line. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, bands have to evolve. I just think this is a good point for them to where you hear the evolution. Dave Gahan's lyrics don't quite match because his lyrics and his vocal sounds are amazing, and they don't quite match the poppy kind of erasure-y kind of styling of the other band members, and it's interesting.
Gahan's lyrics? I thought Martin Gore wrote everything.
I'm not sure. I think it's just more like the performance is more split in two. You've got one half of them are sounding one way, and the other half are sounding the other at this point, a little bit.
They're maturing into what was going to happen with Violator and Songs of Love and Devotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think was the one after, which is my favourite Depeche Mode album.
Yeah, it's all good.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no bad Depeche Mode.
No. Good.
Oh, really? At number 40, Prime Mover by Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction. Do you know anything about this?
The only thing I know is that the Love Reaction part was a partnership with Jimmy Cauty. Jimmy Cauty, who was the precursor, formation, brains behind The Orb, the Justified Ancients of Moo and the KLF, which tells me that this is a art school kind of project. I listened to the track. It was very formulaic, no real surprises, rockish, kind of Alice Cooper sounding-ish, kind of that kind of thing. I think...
A Zodiac Mind Warp a separate thing then?
No, Zodiac Mind Warp and, well, yes, that's the guy. That's one person.
Oh.
Essentially. So it's a mixture of a guy from an art school mixing with another guy from an art school. And they formed this stuff. And when you know that Jimmy Cauty is involved, you have to think, okay, this is a person that knew how to construct music that would sell. Like the KLF was a project that was based around an idea of formulaic dance tracks. Maybe this was an extension of that, and it sounds like that. It sounds like a track by numbers. I'm not a big fan of this kind of thing. I think it was a bit of a attempt to just make chart stuff happen and earn somebody some money, which he probably did. So fair play, but no. Number 40, hopefully it stayed there.
I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Number 43, There's a Ghost in My House by The Fall. So
what are you going to do? There's a ghost in my house.
It's not like cover. There's a rat in my kitchen. It's eating all my spaghetti.
The rat is still in my kitchen.
It won't leave.
The ghost is still in my house.
But this is by The Fall. So this is a cover, isn't it, of the classic from the 60s?
Yeah.
Which I really like the classic, the original from the 60s. I think it's a good song. I've never heard this Fall version. I can only imagine what it's like.
Yeah, absolutely. Based on it's apparently Northern Soul. And now, this is the thing. I didn't know what that really meant. I'd heard it a lot.
Northern Soul?
Yeah, I'd heard that terminology used a lot. Oh, it's Northern Soul, and I'd heard it attributed to certain tracks. I didn't quite know what that meant. So it's apparently something to do with Northern Soul clubs, which are essentially the mecca of this is a actual Blackpool Mecca and Wigan casino. But it's certainly some kind of variation of I'm not sure if it isn't singers singing Motown records in a kind of certain way. I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's hard to reel into it, but the one track that seems to stand out from Northern Soul is Tainted Love. Seems to be the one track that comes out of that a lot. So that's a synth version of Tainted Love is a synth version of a Northern Soul kind of track. So that's kind of Northern Soul. So this kind of backtrack with this kind of reaching sort of, not necessarily synthesized, but this kind of backtrack of that kind of type, and a single singer sort of, putting the position. I don't know. Anyway, I have no idea what it is.
I think it's safe to say that we know nothing about Northern Soul.
Nothing about Northern Soul. I'm sure somebody will educate us about it, but I know literally nothing about it.
It's strange, though, that you know more about the next song, which is Hot Shot Tottenham. In at number 44.
Well, I thought this would have appealed more to you because you're the football fan.
Yeah, but I hate Tottenham.
Okay.
So I really don't like football. No, I don't like football songs either. They're always dreadful, always. Apart from It's Coming Home, obviously. But this was, involved. It was Chaz and Dave, wasn't it? They were just everywhere because the Cockneys, in it. So it's Cockney, so Tottenham. So you got to have someone like that doing this. I like what you've noted here, though. It's just released to celebrate reaching the 1987 FA Cup final and had the lyrics. We're Hot Shot Tottenham. We are the Super Spares. Everybody knows we're the football connoisseurs. 7 times we won the cup. Now number 8 is coming. Why don't say up? I don't know there. And we're Hot Shot Tottenham. And they lost.
Yeah, the tragedy of that song. The tragedy is that they lost to Coventry. I'm not sure what the score was. Do you know the score of that? No.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I probably watched the final because I would have watched every FA Cup final at the time. So.
The score was Tottenham lost and Coventry won, and that's the score.
And that's all you need to know. Yeah, who cares?
Well, it kind of shoots this song in the foot.
7 times we won the cup. Now number 8 is coming.
Unfortunately, we didn't win. So now let's talk about something else. Yeah,
reminds me of one of our songs that was written for our previous band with a particular rhyme that I won't mention here. Maybe I will another time, but it just reminds me of that.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can never be genuine because your feelings are so false. That one, yeah,
that's the one. It's not love that we make. You can never be genuine because your feelings are so fake, false. Oh, you've lost the rhyme.
Doesn't matter. What matters is that Hot Shot Tottenham were not shot Tottenham at that point, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, shit shot.
Yeah.
Number 57. No, this is weird. Number 57. There is no number 58. There just goes to 59 because there are 2 singles listed at number 57. Jack Mix 2 and 3 by Mirage and House Nation by House Master Boys and the Rude Boy of House. I have no idea. Those words are words. I know I've just said them, but they mean nothing to me in any shape or form.
I can shed some light on this mystery for you.
Do so.
Mirage was a guy called Miguel Wright, and he remixed the single of Jack Your Body, which was a single from Steve Silk Hurley. He mixed that with Axel F and Showing Out, Get Fresh at the Weekend, which is Mel and Kim. So he released a house track mix of those things, so a remix. And that's what that track is. And the House Master Boys and the Rude Boy of House, that's actually somebody called Farley Jack Master Funk. Farley Jack Master Funk was a house producer / American DJ who was producing a lot of Chicago house and house music at the time. And so you could tell that because the song must feature the word house 25,000 times. So it's house. So It's about house, I think. Now, this is not a song about the housing crisis of the 80s. This is just people shouting the word house. I suspect that the reason this is two number 57s is because, as you've rightly pointed out, I think that people did not know the difference. And you might not. If you heard these tracks, depending on where you heard them and at what point, they sound identical. They're just house tracks of the exact same BPM, of the exact same kind of sound. No,
maybe they just sold exactly the same amount.
Which
would be weird.
But it could happen. It could happen.
It could happen. You know, in an infinite universe with infinite monkeys and typewriters and stuff, then a record could sell exactly the same amount. I mean, it could be the same amount of people because they're probably into that same music. The same people just bought both records.
The thing is, with house music, you have to just accept that you're going to hear the same thing a lot.
But that was it for that day. Let's move on. Number 78, Talk Dirty to Me by Poison. I like Talk Dirty to Me. It's a bit of a... it's the only Poison track I probably have any time for, but it's a stupid glam metal rock song, innit?
I don't like him, and the lead singer is ugly.
What's it? Vince? No, what
Vince Neil, is it?
Is it Vince Neil? I think it is Vince Neil, isn't it? Poison?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is he Motley Crue?
Oh, is that Motley Crue? I don't know. They're all kind of merged into one
I don't know.
horrific band.
I don't mind Talk Dirty to Me. You know, it is what it is, isn't it? What could you say? Bret Michaels.
Bret Michaels is the singer. He's ugly.
Bret Michaels is the lead singer. He's an odd-looking chap, should we say? But yeah, of course there's lots of backlit massive poodle hair in the video. It's 1987, and that was the thing. We concluded this last time.
Well, I was expecting more sort of scantily clad women. There's not a lot of that in there. It's all mainly them.
Well, they're not A-League yet. They can't get that.
No.
Poison haven't reached that stage yet. Didn't Poison also do Every Rose Has Its Thorn?
Yes, and Unskinny Bop.
Unskinny Bop. See, they're terrible. They're terrible.
They are.
Talk Dirty to Me is, I don't mind it.
It's not good.
It's not great. No, I know.
It's not good. It's not good. Never mind great.
Number 92, Don't Dream It's Over, Crowded House.
I don't know a lot about Crowded House, and I don't want to.
I think, are they, correct me if I'm wrong, are they Australian blandcore?
Believe they may be. Blandcore's coming from every direction now.
It really is, but, there's a couple of, they did Everywhere You Go, Always take the weather. That was
my brother-in-law's wife's favourite band. My sister-in-law, essentially. And that tells me everything I need to know.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a bad thing.
All right, okay.
No.
Number 94, Nosedive Karma by Gay Bikers on Acid.
Stupid.
Are they? I don't know anything about them.
Well,
what can you tell me about Gay Bikers on Acid?
I listened to this track. They're still going. You can. There's a Bandcamp page specifically for them. So they're a psychedelic rock band, apparently from Leicester. Although I read they were also from Bristol, so Leicester, Bristol. And they're apparently the founder members of the Grebo music scene. Now, make of that what you will. I don't know what that means, really.
That's is that the Levelers and stuff like that? People with dogs on strings.
Dogs on strings and hairy armpits, I'm guessing,
and dungarees. They're the offshoot from Dexys Midnight Runners.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but
I'm going to go with that. So they signed to Virgin Records. They released an album called Drill Your Own Hole. Well, the Drill Your Own Hole album actually had no hole in the center of the album, so you had to drill your own hole in it to play it. Stupid marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
The only thing I could find that was
center.
it wouldn't work. This is why it's just a bit daft. Anyway, I listened to the couple of tracks. They were just derivative nonsense. Mary Biker, who is actually somebody called Ian Garfield Huxley, was also a singer on the Apollo 440 albums. I'm not sure what that means or why or what they sang, but anyway, it's a bit of variety, I suppose.
The only Apollo 440 track I know is that one where they sampled Eddie Van Halen. That's Apollo 440, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
is it Eruption?
No, it's not Eruption. That's Ain't Talking About Love.
Yeah, because the
Apollo 440 Ain't Talking About Dub. Yeah,
that's the one. There we go. That's it for that day. 17th of May. In at number 6 is Incommunicado by Marillion. You have to say it like that. That's how you got to say it. Incommunicado.
If only they were. If only someone had silenced them. So they had to remain, don't communicate with anyone, Marillion.
Although, to be fair, though, every time they do pop up and we go, I know that song, and that's the only one I know, then they come out with another one, I go, I know that one too. I'm realising that I know more Marillion songs than I thought I would, than I'm happy knowing. I know this one. I
have come across, only Kaylee is the one I know of, really.
You knew Lavender, once I got your Dilly.
Lavender, that's two. Thankfully, I'd never heard of Incommunicado.
Have you not?
So the irony of it is that these are described as British neo-progressive rock.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? What does it really mean? So progressive rock is an emphasis on ambitious compositions, experimentation, concept-driven lyrics, and musical virtuosity. Okay.
I love that you've looked into this.
I have. Neo-progressive is characterized by deeply emotional content, often delivered via dramatic lyrics and a generous use of imagery and theatricality on stage.
That's what we were.
Yes. Marillion can be seen as a bridge between the styles of punk rock and classic progressive. What? None of those things, neo-progressive, progressive, or the bridge, describe what my experience of Marillion was. So I'm reminded a little bit of Spinal Tap, with Nigel and David are described by Derek Smalls as fire and ice, and he is the place in between. He is the lukewarm water. So what are Marillion? I don't know. I don't quite get where they sit. This was off their fourth studio album, Clutching at Straws. As you noted, they probably were at this point. And if you listen to this, and you should, the keyboardist is definitely channeling Rick Wakeman. There's no doubt about that. It's like...
Well, I think we'll hear more about
wild.
Rick Wakeman
later
on.
But he's channeling it there. I don't like Marillion. I don't like them. I don't like them.
No, I just recognise the songs because they were just in the charts. And I
just remember that. Do you remember? No, I don't. No, get lost. Get lost.
Number 10. In at number 10 was I Want to Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me, Whitney Houston. We spoke about that. That goes to number 1.
So much energy and power.
There is light bulbs. Number 23, Born to Run Live.
Oof.
Or Born to Run Live. Bruce Springsteen.
I prefer to hear Born to Run Dead, I think.
Okay. Number 28, 5 Get Overexcited by the House Martins.
Yeah. I don't know it very well, but the album that it's from, which is something called The People Who Grinned Themselves to Death. That's a great title for an album.
That is a good album for a title. Although it does remind me of the Monty Python sketch about the funniest joke ever told.
Yes.
So, it does remind me of that. The Germans tried to come up with their own version and everything.
Yeah. Is it my dog has no nose? How does it smell? Awful. Yeah.
The basement was full of milkmen.
Some of whom were very old.
Very
that's
old.
Ernest Scribbler, manufacturer of jokes.
Funniest joke ever.
Yeah.
He will now write the funniest joke.
This is Ernest Scribbler, manufacturer of jokes. In a few moments, he will write the funniest joke in the world, and as a result, die laughing.
Yeah, that's it. Number 44, Infidelity by Simply Red.
Of course they had a track called, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Mick Hucknall's favourite word next to the phrase hot cross buns and pass me more bread.
Yes, exactly. Mick Hucknall, he knows how to cross a bun. He does. He just does.
He knows how to butter a bap.
Yeah. Yes. He has glazed more buns than you and I will ever dream about.
Yeah, he is the iced bun manufacturer of the pop world.
Oh, it's so gross. It's put me off hot cross buns for life.
He does it from his belly button.
No, this is the idea that he goes, pass me that bun. There we go. Oh, it's so exciting. That's glazed. That's well glazed. That's a good glaze.
That's well iced.
And I'm never watching Bake Off again.
Did you call them glazed buns or iced buns? They're different things.
They are, but in his world, either way, have just grossed me out beyond anything I want to think about.
Oh, it's dripping off the end.
Yeah. No.
In at number 50 was Luca by Suzanne Vega.
My name is Luca.
Good track. Sad song, but good track.
I think everyone knows that track and Tom's Diner. So we'll come to the album in a bit. So
we will. Number 78, Love Missile F-111 by Pop Will Eat Itself.
Cover.
I didn't know Pop Will Eat Itself were going this early, if I'm honest.
No, they shouldn't have, because this is a crap cover of a crap song.
Yeah, because they change into something quite different later on, don't they? They become like this sort of heavy, hardcore sort of dance sort of mix up, don't they?
Dance, industrial-ish almost mix up, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
This is crap, so.
It is. Terrible cover of CC Sputnik song, isn't it?
Yep.
24th of May, in at number 23 was The Victim of Love by Erasure. Yeah, it's all right. Did you watch the video?
Yes, I did.
There's lots of Andy Bell half-bend dancing.
He does do a lot of that.
it's the Andy Bell half-bend dance.
He does do a lot of semi-bend.
Full bend, half-bend, semi-bend.
Semi-bend.
He does all the
does.
bends.
He's a very bendy guy. And I did wonder at the beginning if there was a... Because the opening 30 seconds is kind of all vowel sounds. I wonder if it was a challenge, like, do that. But,
Probably.
but after that, it's all bend after that.
It's all bend after that. Yeah, he's fully on the bend. Number 27, Goodbye Stranger by Pepsi and Shirley.
Too many stabs of both trumpet and wacka wacka guitar. It's all stabby. It's very stabby. It's too many. It's all the stabs. It's the stabs.
Who made this, by the way? Did Pepsi and Shirley, who produced this? Are they a Stock Aitken and Waterman?
No, I don't think they are. It didn't sound like their gamut.
Sound.
No, it was more sounded like the chic sound / Janet Jackson style.
They're ex-Wham, aren't they? They're ex-Wham backing singers. So I'm just wondering where they went and who produced them. I don't know.
It doesn't sound British produced. It sounds US, but I could be wrong. I didn't look into it, but it could be wrong.
Fair enough. Number 35, No Sleep Till Brooklyn from the Beastie Boys. We've spoken at length about the Beastie Boys in previous episodes. Yeah, it's one of their sort of classic early tracks, in it. Very, yes, you put it loud and shouty. It is. Yeah, it is what it is. But it's okay.
I don't like that version of them. I don't like the no sleep till. I like the flute loop. I like that version of myself. I like that version of Beastie Boys better. So it's not my cup of tea. This sort of
That's fair enough.
Shouty, angry stuff.
I'm going to guess that you liked it better than what was in at number 37, which was Nothing's Gonna Stop Me Now by Samantha Fox.
This is awful.
Weird title. She's obviously bit of Starship titling going on there, but
yeah.
I did listen to it. You kindly linked it there for me to listen to.
I like to think I'm kind.
Me and you need to have words, but hey ho. This was awful. Just the worst kind of Stock Aitken and Waterman garbage. And like you've noted here, it does sound out of tune.
It is out of tune. It predates auto-tune. It's out of tune. It's bad.
Yeah. The video intro has too many lip zooms. It did. There's loads of lip zooms.
It zooms in so close to her lips in that beginning bit. It's like, I don't want to be that close to Samantha. I mean, in all fairness, Samantha Fox has lovely lips, but that is a horrific series of zooms. I'm just trying to be political, but just super zooming on somebody's lips while they're eating a lollipop. It's not the way we do things in America.
No, it's not. Absolutely. Just like we don't feed people to giant spiders.
No, we do not.
We do not. Wherever I've lost my place. There we go.
Number 50.
We're at number 50. It's Tricky by Run DMC. Yeah, classic Run DMC track.
Yeah, it's the one that really made me think, actually, I quite like what they're doing.
They were one of those bands, weren't they, that kind of managed that sort of... You got those kind of songs in indie clubs and would manage that kind of crossover between indie kids and metalers and rappers and that kind of thing. They kind of hit all bases, and obviously they had Walk This Way, which helped, but
I think
Tricky did it as well.
I think Walk This Way was the bridge, and then everything they did after that was a two-way walkway. So it's pretty cool. It's Tricky. It's a good track.
A two-way walkway.
Yeah,
I like it. That's what they were. In number 56, the Moyers, the Yazoos. They're on the move. Ordinary Girl by Alison Moyer.
Yes.
Okay. Did she like any songs?
Well, this one and the one we spoke about in the last episode ago, she hated the fact that she released them because she didn't like it. She thought there was a notion of selling out. She recorded these things because she knew she would make money. So in a 2004 interview, she's seen crying about that in almost a confessional state, saying that she regretted massively recording this one and the previous one we mentioned, so Ordinary Girl, and the other one. But she is, in that same interview, wiping away her tears with £50 notes. So
and then throwing them away into the fire.
Yeah, exactly. Make of that what you wish. She's like, and the diamonds are crusting in her eyes. She's like, these diamonds in my eyes hurt so much. These £50 notes, they don't do anything. Oh, awful.
Pass me more caviar.
That'll help.
Stop massaging my toe, you 5 men. At number 74 was Radio Waves by Roger Waters.
Did you listen to it?
I've heard this before. I've heard the album. I used to have the album of this.
What a weird track that is.
Yeah.
It is a U2 song that they didn't sing, sung by the guy from Midnight Oil.
Did you order 20 packs of paracetamol and removed all the earth wires from every electric appliance in the house?
Yeah, initially, yeah, because it's Roger Waters.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to. You've got to be careful when you unleash the waters.
Exactly.
you have to make sure that there's nothing earthing you.
Roger, hello. Is there anybody out there? Just nod if you can hear me. His arms are like two, deflated balloons.
He's like one of those things you see outside of a car dealership. Flapping around in the wind.
And he has never been comfortably numb. He's uncomfortably numb. No, nobody is. Nobody's comfortably numb. Nobody likes that. It's a horrible feeling. Horrible.
Number 89, Alone by Heart. There you go.
Oh my God.
What a song.
All-time super classic.
It really is a super classic of the soft rock, ballady, big ballad.
Yeah.
It's the giantest ballad of all the giantest ballads, really. It's one of them.
Yeah, what surprised me with this was that it wasn't by them originally. I always thought it was, but it wasn't. So
no, it wasn't. It's a strange song, but it's a brilliant song. But it's, and it's one of my favourites to do at karaoke, I have to say, even though I absolutely butcher it.
I'm not sure that you would hit a high F.
I get there.
I think maybe you think you do.
It takes some sort of vice-like gripping.
That is a high note, a high F. No, an F sharp 5. That's a high F.
It is a high F. But it's a great song. It is a good song. 31st of May, number 13. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Song about playing Explorer.
It is, yeah, because that is a game with 40 billion locations. You're never going to find what you're looking for in that.
Yeah.
Ever.
You will never, no. And number 30 is This Love by Whitesnake.
Oh, this, honestly. I really like this song. I like everything about it. I like the hair. I like the guitar solo. I don't like the hair, really. I like the guitar solo. I like the vibe. Tawny Katane is ridiculous how attractive and good looking she is in that video. And it made me think of what other things she's been in, which made me direct towards Bachelor Party. She's in Bachelor Party, but that made me then think of Monique Gabrielle.
This is tenuous reasoning to post picture you have posted here.
It was not tenuous. Tawny Katane is in Bachelor Party. Bachelor Party is a film that features Monique Gabrielle. Monique Gabrielle is famous for being in the...
You've won Dusty Bin.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Semi-naked, actually fully naked sequence in. But come on. I posted a limited picture, I think, of that. And she is...
Yeah, but you need to give me a bit of heads up.
It's just stupid how good looking...
I'm scrolling down the page.
It's stupid how good looking the women are in that film. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is ridiculous.
And she's just an example of that. And it's made me instantly want to watch it again and again and again. So it's a good song, though. It is this stuff. It's not featuring that film at all. It's nothing to do with it.
No, that's what I mean.
Just saying. But Tawny Katane is in Bachelor Party. So
Jesus. Number 52. Diamonds, 1987 by Herb Alpert.
That's the honk and the Moyer in the same episode. That could cause trouble.
He's not the honk.
Well, he's one of the honks.
He's the trumpeter. The honk is a guy out of Fine Young Cannibals.
So what's Herb Alpert then?
He's the trumpeter. The trumpet. Okay, he's the trumper.
They're in the same episode.
He's the tutor, shall we say?
There's going to be there's going to be trumpets and pies everywhere. But this is in actuality another track with Janet Jackson at the vocal helm, and it actually doesn't feature a lot of trumpet, very little trumpet, slight stabs, which is not something you want to hear about trumpets, and the occasional here and there, but not a lot.
Herb, how much trumpet have you got in this song? Only the slightest of stabs. There's just the odd stab here, the odd stab there. The odd stab here.
It's a measure of trumpet. How much trumpet is in this? 18 stabs. 18?
Half a stab.
Half a stab. There's a stab and then a full blown. Oh, okay. It's too much.
Too much. Number 74, Star Trekking by The Firm. This was Stingy, wasn't it? This was Jimmy Corty, wasn't it? Wasn't this KLF?
No, nothing to do with them.
I always thought it was. I always thought it was something to do with them.
Nope. This was a bit of an alternative just thing that happened based on.
No, I'm confusing that with Doctor in the TARDIS.
Yeah. No, this came about because of a series of events, nothing to do with the KLF. Somebody did a version of I Am the Music Man, and they filled it with Star Trek characters, and then eventually this thing emerged. What's interesting about this is because it is stupid. It's Klingons on the starboard bow, and all of that stuff. And it's number 74 now. It goes to number 1. However,
it does.
There's a phrase in it which is where they sing as different characters out of the Star Trek universe, one of which is Spock. And the Spock character goes, "It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it." That is not a line from Star Trek, but that has subsequently been misattributed into that TV series. So people think that Spock did say, "It's life, Jim, but not as we know it," and he never said that in the TV series ever.
Oh. Does Kirk ever say this Klingons off the starboard bow?
No, not quite like that, no.
There we go. And finally, for our singles, number 78, Break Every Rule by Tina Turner.
Yeah, my advice is don't. It might seem as like a good idea to follow the ideas in that song. You'll likely lead to a lot of trouble, possibly danger, and even worse, a lifetime subscription to Weller, because you'll need the hairspray, because that is backcomb crazy.
She does, at this point, I think she does have the world record for backcombing of the hair. She must have it. It's massive.
Because she lives in the back-home city limits.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
right, move on quick.
Shedding listeners at every song. Right, albums. Let's move into albums quickly. 3rd of May, straight in at number 1. We've got Keep Your Distance by Curiosity Killed the Cat.
Yeah, I'm doing that. So I won't listen to that rubbish. I'm keeping my distance. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah, in at number 2, Solitude Standing by Suzanne Vega. It was her most commercially successful album. I still prefer her first album personally, but I was one of those people who bought this when it came out.
Yeah, Tom's Diner and Luca on 1 and 2 on the album, so you know where that's going.
Yeah, it's good, and I do like her version of, obviously, the original version of Tom's Diner.
Yeah,
rather than the crappy dance version that came out later.
Yeah.
Number 32, Living in a Box by Living in a Box. So yes. You put it, wasn't there a single also called Living in a Box? You've got the... I'm triply angry. This is triple anger. Band name, album name, song name, all living in a box. I get annoyed when they use the same word, same album. No, just, I don't mind eponymous debut albums, but when you use the same song, you got song. No, I'm not having this.
No. My only saving grace for this is that they were actually living inside a box. Like a cardboard box, and that was a choice of theirs.
Because they sang about it.
Yeah, but I want that to be like a life choice. So they just opted for the convenience of cardboard living and housing. I'm sure that's not the case, but but I can see why you'd be angry about it.
Just annoys me. Number 51, Hillbilly Deluxe by Dwight Yoakam.
Who?
Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah, country album, country music. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Number 53, This Is the Story by The Proclaimers.
Do you like him?
No. Do you?
No. It's this Letter from America's on this album. Not 500 Miles. That's the only 2 tracks I know of them.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise they made albums, which is ironic considering their name. So they just didn't proclaim much.
Yeah, because at the beginning, they didn't proclaim themselves.
Exactly. So I think The Proclaimers is actually more of a statement of intent than their actual band name, but okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, indeed. Number 81, Join the Army by Suicidal Tendencies.
Bah, no thrash metal garbage, no thanks.
Yeah, that's no. 10th of May, number 60, Dead Letter Office by R.E.M.
Yeah.
You like the joke?
Yeah, I did like it. Yeah,
I find it handy when I sleep.
Yeah, but do you actually like
what R.E.M.? They're all right.
Band.
I'm not a massive fan. I know some people, Automatic Other People and stuff, obviously when they became huge, wasn't it? But,
yeah.
I like some of their singles and stuff, but I just find them a bit... I just don't like Michael Stipe.
Are they not the shiny, happy people that you thought they were?
No.
That's fair.
They're quite close to American blandcore as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I agree completely.
So,
Couldn't have put it better.
Number 94, The Gospels by Rick Wakeman. I'll leave this one to you.
Well, because Rick Wakeman is famous for his woo-wee, It's kind of sounds, and that's true. But that is just how Rick Wakeman starts the day. He sounds that synth cry, if he can, across the Pennines, because that's where he lives. Now, a warning that that is generally considered a warning that the Wakeman hath woken, and the locals live in fear of an annual day of celebration known as the Wakening, where Rick Wakeman pretends to be asleep, and 3 locals of quote-unquote virtue true are pushed down a hill in his honour. After that, he gives 3 power yawns, whatever that might be, down an alpine horn, and emits the cry of Waketh, which, in ancient times, was meant to summon the demon with 1 foot. However, nowadays, that just summons locals to clap, cheer, and drink local beer, which is known locally as Hawken, and that beer is actually a blend of soot and methylated spirits. And unfortunately for them, blindness is common amongst them because of that. I just think it's interesting that those local traditions still exist to this day. Got a Rick Wakeman. I'm glad that he embraces them. He is a good egg.
We are a land of tradition, if nothing else.
And I'm sure all of that is true or not. I don't know for sure. I've never been around where he lives, so I don't know for sure. But I'm pretty sure it probably is almost something that could have happened.
I have tried a pint of Hawken, though.
Oh, what was it like?
Well, I don't know.
Blinding.
Yeah, I couldn't see for like half an hour. So
I'd like to try it, I think.
Absolutely. I was quite glad, actually, because there was things going on that I could hear that I wasn't happy with. I was just glad I couldn't see them. Yeah.
Well, they wrote a song about it. Soon may the Wakeman come to bring them sugar and tea and rum. He wrote that long before the Wellerman thing. Anyway, never mind that. That's a TikTok thing.
17th of May, in at number 1, straight in. It's better to travel. We don't know why. Is that what it's better than?
Dull
Swing Out Sister. Yep. Number 13 is Tribute by Ozzy Osbourne.
Live album.
So it's an old live album.
Well, no, it's a live album tribute to Randy Rhoads, who died 5 years before this album was released. So it's mainly Randy Rhoads stuff played with Ozzy Osbourne during Black Sabbath. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's 5 years old, and they've just released it as a tribute to Randy Rhoads.
Yeah,
and he just died at this point.
No, he died 5 years before this album came out. Yeah.
What's the point?
That's probably when Ozzy realised, to be fair.
He's dead.
Oh,
what?
No. What do you mean he's dead? That isn't Randy.
Oh no, Randy's dead.
That's a pretty good Ozzy Osbourne impression, actually.
Why did no one tell me? I've been watching Auf Wiedersehen, pet.
I always think of Ozzy Osbourne as if he was like that guy in Aliens. You mean I've got to nuke the site from orbit? No, just for some reason.
He could do that. He could be that. Number 30 is Babel by That Petrol Emotion.
Yeah.
It is another second album.
It is. I don't know what they sound like, and I'm never going to, because I'm not going to look for more into that.
Number 43 is His Finest Collection by Roger Whittaker.
Oh, that is a great collection by Roger Whittaker, though.
What is it? His collection of what?
Well, you question what he collects, or what he... And I would argue that it is essentially a collection of small breads and a jar of beads, various jars of beads. Now, that's my understanding of Roger Whittaker's collections. You might have a different one, but he does whistle a lot.
He does. All the time. In the shower, down the shops, on the bus, waiting in the post office, tying his shoes, in bed, watching TV in the cinema, whilst listening to his wife, at graduations, on the plane, whilst canoeing, cooking, cleaning his teeth, which is a spraying nightmare, everywhere.
Well, he speaks fluent whistle, which is a language.
Absolutely. He's often been seen conversing with the clangers.
He has. If you say to Roger Whittaker, what would you like for tea? He's go... What was that? Is that pancake?
What's that? Cheese on toast?
All right, no cheese then, for Christ's sake. I'm trying to accommodate you here, Roger. Now bugger off. He's a whistling bloody shit, is what he is.
Absolutely. Whistling Whittaker, they call him. 24th of May, number 14, Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley Crue.
Oh, it's the classic Motley Crue album, the 4th album. It contains the singles Girls, 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 You're All I Need, Wild Side. I love to hate Motley Crue.
I don't like Motley Crue.
No, I don't like
it. I thought Theatre of Pain was their classic, but...
No, this is the big classic, Girls, Girls, Girls. It was the one that got the massive amount of MTV airplay. And I played the gig in the Whiskey A Go-Go in LA back in the day. And I can tell you, it was like a shrine to Motley Crue.
Is it?
Yeah, but their drinking policy for under 21s was very aggressive and it kind of ruined the ambience, but there you go.
So that's what you got to do, though. Number 27, One Voice by Barbara Streisand.
Weird, isn't it, that?
I don't know anything about this. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, she's not lying. She used a single voice throughout that entire album, luckily her own. There was a time when she hunted voices and voice boxes down like that creature in Jeepers Creepers. She tore them out of whatever creature she had and found them in and then swallowed them in a kind of a glugging, scary manner. And then she would emit that voice. Luckily, in this instance, it was her own voice. In some areas of suburban America, there is still a real fear of the Yentl.
I'm scared of the Yentl.
You want to be? It's horrible, really.
It really is.
Talented but scary.
Talented but very scary. Number 38, Louder Than Bombs by the Smiths.
No.
Number 62, Dawn Raiser by Fields of the Nephilim.
Well, you know a lot more about the Fields of the Nephilim than I do. I have just put them down to a mysterious bunch of super goths that had a fondness for monochrome, but you know more about them, so explain more.
Well, I know a little bit more about them. I know that they liked flower. They were kind of styled themselves either as a kind of... I checked this with my partner, because obviously she knows quite a lot of goth stuff, and I thought they were like Western kind of drifter type style. So, but she was like, they're supposed to be like Western ghosts. So they styled themselves like this. The front cover of Dawn Razor, he's got like the main singer is just all in black with a big sort of, you can see a cowboy hat and a banner arranged behind him, it's backlit, but he's completely in black and he looks like Blake from The Fog.
Okay.
Strange enough. So he kind of has that look about him. If you see the album, you'll know what I mean immediately. But so when they used to play live to sort of get this kind of look, they used to cover themselves in flour to sort of give that sort of dusty Western vibe to them. They're very good. This is a really good album. I did give it another listen today. I've not listened to it in years, but this is a cracking album. Really good. Yeah, they were more cinematic than their contemporaries. There's longer tracks. They're a bit more... Their opening track on this album is brilliant. The Harmonica Man.
Yeah.
But it's great. You know, it's just a really good, if you like sort of goth, there's somewhere kind of in the middle of the sort of Sister's first album and The Mission, but with a bit more, like you said, a bit more cinematic sort of scope to them. They're a bit different, but they're very good. And this is a good album. In all seriousness, this is a great album.
No, I agree completely. I listened to them in short controlled bursts, mainly because of your introduction to them way back in the day. I haven't given a lot of time a day, but upon listening to this, and revisiting some of their back catalogue via Spotify and other means, they're actually a really progressive and interesting band. So a bit like a couple of other bands we've discovered as we've gone through this podcast. They're a band I'm going to go back into and really dive into the catalogue because there's some really interesting stuff in there. Yeah, they are. They have a tendency as well just to sort of change tune halfway through a song as well. Yes, they do. Which is kind of weird, especially in the live album's very good as well, if you listen to that. What else? 31st of May, just rounding these up. Number 1 is Live in the City of Light by Simple Minds, straight in. Yeah, as I've noticed, is this live? Is this live? So is it live in the City of Light? There's a question for you. Or is it live as in I Am Alive? I don't know. It's a band called Simple Minds. I don't think you have to question it too heavily. Where is the City of Light as well? And why would I want to live there or live there? I don't know. There you go. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me by The Cure in at number 6. No. I'm not asking, I'm just saying. No. And at number 19 is Dancing on the Couch by Go West. Oh, do you know what? The alternative name for this band was Not Go East. Essentially, want it just go the opposite way. They got their name from playing adventure games on the Commodore 64. Did they? No, I'm just making that up. I don't know. Don't go east is like more likely. Yeah, it's a bad idea. Dancing on the couch will lead to a telling off from the partner. Yes. So don't do that. You'll just ruin the cushions, and you won't be able to flump them out. We've got a new sofa coming soon. And we've got these sofas in the wind. Every time you have to stand up there, you have to replump them. So I have plumping of cushions in my future. Yes. Plumping of the cushion is a ritual. Absolutely. It soothes the wakeman. Soon may the wakeman come. But yes, to bring us plumped up sugar. Plumped. Yeah. Plump your cushions and go. Yeah. Number 23, Bad Animals by Heart. Yeah, their 9th album. They've been going for ages at this point, haven't they? Yeah. I had That's the album with Alone on it, yeah. So it is, yeah. Number 79, Enya with Enya. Yeah, I don't get what Enya actually is. I know it's her name, Enya Patricia Brennan. She is Ireland's best-selling solo artist. I get all that. but I didn't dig the tracks that she released. I remember them. I almost remember Orinoco Flow because you could sing that just by humming vowels.
Yeah.
A-I-I-O-I-I-I-E. You could do that. But I actually remember more because I think she did the soundtrack for a TV show called The Celts, and that was then used again in the Sleepwalker soundtrack, which is that crap Stephen King movie which we mentioned the other week.
Oh, it's crap.
And then I think one of Enya's track was used in the film LA Story, which LA Story is a good film, and that track is a good moment in it. I'm just not sure really that Enya was. She became popular at a certain point. I'm not sure why. I guess she was just different.
There was a period of these kind of albums around the late 80s, early 90s, I think. But yeah, she did Orinoco Flow. That's the best one, isn't it? I suppose. Most well-known title. I think the lyrics are, I just wrote these down just off by memory. Is it let me swim to the Orinoco Flow? Let me swim. Or was it something else? Just say something else?
Yeah, you noted here that it's a colloquialism for the passing of a small pebble-like turd. And I'm inclined to agree with that. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. It sounds horribly painful, but I'm inclined to agree with that.
It really would be. I mean, I've got a painful case of the Orinoco Flow.
Go to the doctor's. I've got a massive Enya.
I just keep Orinoco flowing.
Horrific Enyering of the flow. Awful business.
Oh no, I've got an Orinoco Flow.
Can you say A-E-I-O? Well, you can't do that. Well, you've definitely got Enyering of the Orinoco Flow.
Let me just get my marigolds out.
Your Celts are done. You need to change your Celts right now.
And finally, let's get this done. Number 82 is Raintown by Deacon Blue.
Oh, Deacon Bloody Blue.
Yeah. As I put here, you put Deacon Blue, Deacon Bloody Blue. They're still going now more of Deacon Faded Blue. I thought they would have sort of leveled up. They would have gone up the pecking church order by now, like Pastor Aqua, Priest Navy, Archbishop Teal.
Yes,
I know.
Yeah.
So because Deacon quite low down. I think it's quite low down the sort of pecking order in the church, isn't it?
My only experience of that is that a friend of mine became a deacon, and he was an American, and the local media described him as the Yankee Doodle Deacon, which he wasn't wholly happy about. And that's my only experience. I don't know how it ranks, how a deacon ranks in the ranking of...
Is this higher than a pastor, lower than a priest?
I don't know. But when you describe it this way, I'm thinking almost like a fight game on there.
I'm not. I'm thinking like that. Is it lower than a pastor, higher than a priest? I'm thinking of play your cards right, priest, church style.
Play your priests right. Higher than a priest, you say, pastor. You don't get nothing for two in this game.
Come on, nuns, do your dealing.
Do.
Higher than a priest, Oh, it's an altar boy. They're always lower than a priest.
Ooh, it's a middle card. It's just a deacon. It's a middle card deacon.
Do you want to stick? or do you want to go on? You're stuck. Oh, nice game.
Good game. Yeah.
Oh dear, Deacon Blue. That's it for music. We've had a lot of music there, so that's it. That is your music. We'll be back shortly where we've got more games coming up. We've got another 6 games still to do, and we'll be talking about them after this short break.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Crash landing on a green planet full of vector graphics, can Sarah find a way to escape for real? Or is she stranded on a planet full of sun, sea, and chippy tea forever? Imagine finding yourself in a cinematic karate game, having to rescue a princess, or remain stuck under the run-stop key forever. What about finding yourself on a space freighter full of robots? Could you clear the decks? If you were transported back to a Wild West town, having to round up outlaws, could you survive until sunset? What if you were a wizard with a cat who must colour worlds? Could you beat the game, or would a virtual guitar solo announce your demise? Sarah might just be another visitor, but she doesn't want to stay a while, never mind forever. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, discover if there's a way out in Escape from the Commodore 64. Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more.
All right, we're back. We've got 6 games to get through, so let's crack on. Graham, let's jump straight in, grab our life jackets, small dinghies and whatever it is, and tell us all about the joy of sailing.
We are sailing. We are sailing.
I knew you were going to start with that.
Coded by the mysterious ODE. Developed by Software Studios. Really Sparks Division. Okay, so Software Studios was a development division of Electric Dreams. And they seem to be occurring a lot in our game futures, don't they? So they've got a bit of an... Software Studios have got a bit of an odd track record. Okay, Howard the Duck, Explorer,
Hey.
Aliens, Dandy.
Oh.
Hey, they did go on to do some great stuff. So this is a sailing game and a kind of arcade sailing simulation at that, but there's more to it. So the idea is you've got to race against another country's opponent in this game, and you've got to go around 3 buoys in the water. And the game is seen from the bow of your vessel when you play it, when you get to that point. You begin by selecting your ability level. I chose Landlubber, but there's varying difficulty levels. And I genuinely didn't quite know what to expect with this. This is a game I had never come across in my life. So this was a totally new C64 game for me. You got to work the specification of your yacht. So it's presented as like a blueprint where you've got all to the specific parameters to suit the kind of weather, race, and type of competition that you're in. Now, you might need a little bit of information about the kind of thing you're doing, and I think there's a little bit of... Some of the things you change don't have a massive effect on how the game plays out, but it sort of makes you feel like it does. Maybe in the later levels, as you get better and you can play the more difficult opponents, maybe this has a massive effect. But in these early levels, these things don't really matter, apart from your ship length, your vessel length, which kind of does. So you alter the parameters and it changes your blueprint real time. So you see it change in real time on what you're looking at. And the graphics are quite nice at this point. So far, the graphics have been more than just perfunctory Commodore font stuff. These have been like proper explanatory. You know what you're kind of changing, you know what you're doing. And I didn't look at the manual for this, but I imagine the manual for this helps with that. So all of those factors that you have to change for part to play, which includes like the length of your ship, the waterline length, the height of the hull, the mast length, what your hull is made of, the shape of the wings. They're all factors in how this game will play out and how you are genuinely going to perform in the water and how it reacts to the weather around you. So once you choose that, you then choose your opponent by selecting their country, and you're given a range of options. Now, as you progress and get better and win more races, you get better at the game and you rise the ranks and you can take on the more difficult opponents. These initial opponents, which is Canada, strangely enough, and a few others, I wouldn't say they were easy if you don't know what you're doing, but they are designed to be an into the game. So they're designed to not be like too challenging. So once you do that and select them when you start the game, and once you're happy, you start the race and you're sailing. Now, the view of your game is from the bow of your ship. So it's obviously from the front. And you can, as soon as it starts, you can see your opponent in the distance in the ocean. And the ocean is moving up and down and in quite an effective kind of wave emotion. So it's actually pretty effective the way it works. It's not slow particularly. It is kind of an effective visual display of you being up and down on an ocean and how it might work in a yacht race. You control the direction of your yacht with the joystick to some extent. And you can deploy the spinnaker, which is you essentially applying the sail, which gives you more speed if the wind is in the right direction, which you've got to watch for. So you've got to watch for the wind and basically catch the wind in your sails. If you do that and get that right, you're going to accelerate and go through the water faster. And obviously then you can navigate around the buoys and get around and win. What's noticeable really here is what you're not having to do. So you are focusing on the control of your yacht and the sail. So you're not really focusing on lots of complicated sailing things. So the trimming and the pointing of the sails, the close hauling or the beating close to the wind, none of those things are particularly relevant here. Maybe in the later levels a little bit. But what you're really controlling is the direction that you're facing and whether your sail is facing the right way, whether it's deployed or not. And that makes it a bit more like an arcade racer. And the view and the action that you're facing gives you that kind of impression. Now, underneath your main view of the ocean, which is the mainstay of the screen that you're looking at, with you and the ocean, the ship that your opponent, that shows you wind speed, the direction, the status of your spinnaker, so whether it's up or down, and a kind of radar showing your position and relative to the boys and to where you are. And if you get through that and you win the race, so you get round the boys, then you race for a series of days, and after that you get an opportunity to alter your yacht again, because you can view your competition yachts to see what they're doing, and you can tailor your yacht accordingly. So there's quite a lot to take in, quite a lot of controls. Is the payoff of the game enough to warrant what you have to go through to get there? Well, we'll come to that. I quite like sailing and ships and boats and all that kind of stuff. I like that. I've got a bit of a as we've mentioned a few times in the podcast, I've got a very, very much a naval, and I mean that in the traditional, not the belly button sense, a naval tradition in my family. So I thought this was a good hybrid of arcade versus simulation. Once you get used to the controls, there's a nice view, and the actual idea of sailing and the yacht race is actually very well presented. It's actually quite interesting and quite good. This game isn't for everyone, but I think there's enough visually to grasp you a bit and give you quite a good compelling experience, even if you're a novice sailor. I think the graphics work to its advantage here, that there's a lot of updates and things that change in the specs, and when you do alter the blueprints, it does alter the way it responds to your controls. It might not seem like that at the start, but as you get to play the game more and more, you'll understand that more. The sense of the rolling, moving ocean is quite real. I think the sounds really work to its advantage here. I'm not so sure about the music, but I think the sounds work really well. And there's a lot to like, and you can turn the things off if you fancy a more ocean-based experience. I don't think there's an instant win with this game. I don't think you're going to play this game and just be instantly into the zone with it. You either like sailing and you're going to take the time to understand the parameters of what you're doing, or you don't. And it does take time for you to figure it out, to get to grips with the steering and everything else, but they've kept the controls deliberately simple and the UI simple, so you're not overwhelmed with the best will in the world. You're not overwhelmed with gunship levels of control of a simple yacht. So I think perseverance and persistence will pay off with this game. And if you like your games more shooty, blowy up, smashy, boom, woo, woo, Delta type stuff, this is nothing like you're going to like. If you like a game that's going to take you a bit more time to get used to, the Ace of Aces style stuff, maybe a little bit more simulatory than that, the gunship style stuff, if you want that kind of thing and you're looking for this and you like Destroyer maybe a little bit, I think there's something here for you, and I quite enjoyed it. So it's quite good. It's expensive at $9.99. It got a good review in Zapped because I think it surprised them all how much fun you could have with this kind of game. And I think it also surprised them because the Software Studios team that developed it have developed nothing but crap. I think they were like, wow, I can't believe they've done this. So it's interesting, isn't it? What do you think?
I think you're right in saying that it's going to appeal to different people, because this didn't do much for me, I'm afraid. It looks like it's going to be a hardcore sailing simulation from the outset, but in actuality, it's really little more than an arcade racer, only just a really slow one. As you noted, there are a host of options to pick from before you go racing over 5 days, I think it is, against different countries. But the racing is just little more than sail around a triangle as fast as you can. Didn't seem to be any difference from day to day. And I thought it was just slow because, it's sailing. You don't go much more than 7 or 8 knots, which isn't particularly very fast. There's a lot of raising and lowering of the spinnaker, a lot of spinning of the joystick, because you have to rotate it, don't you, anti-clockwise or clockwise to raise and lower the spinnaker. Yeah. Okay, and you tack into and out of the wind and all that sort of stuff, and you watch that flickery blue stuff go up and down. And it's all, I get what they're going for here, and I think there's an attempt. That's really about it in it, is you go from side to side trying to go the fastest you can. I found on occasion that the opponent was, I don't know what they were doing or what wind they were using, because I couldn't get anywhere near them because the wind was in such a direction that I couldn't get it. I was either going west away from the thing, and I couldn't go north.
You have to like change the blueprint of your ship accordingly, I think.
But I couldn't do that because it was a second race, so I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything from race to race.
You're crap at sailing.
That is true. I mean, I won the first race by a country mile, but the second one, they just went... I'm sure they were in a speedboat, because they just went disappearing off. I was like, how are they going so fast? I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, this wasn't for me. I just found it rather dull, because it's just not very fast. And I think... I get that there's kind of a strange... Which kind of like sailing and being by the ocean, and the sea, which I like. And there's that kind of lulling sense of just... as you're going through the ocean, and the sound effects are all right, and they've attempted to do it. It just reminded me of that stupid kayak game we played yonks ago, in the fact of like Yeah, I get it.
I don't think it was as bad as that.
No, it's not as bad as that. It just put me in the same mind as that.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of get what you're doing, but it's just not for me. And so I get it. But I like that you liked it, and that's why I thought you would, because I think you like these kind of things more than I do. And that's all right. And I wanted to know if you would like it.
Yeah,
because
I can see that.
Slow and dull. So it's passable, and it works, and I get what they're going for. And like you said, I do quite like the sea effect going up and down. It's quite
that was
nice
pretty
look.
effective in its own way.
Yeah, it's 1,000 times. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's 1,000 times better than that stupid Surf Champ effect that we had. Which is and so there is something to this. It's just you're gonna like. I think you're gonna have to like sailing to get really much.
I think
from
you
this.
have to, yeah. But you would only buy it because of the word sailing.
Probably, yeah, true. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's weird that it's based on that America's Cup in it. Something you think it would be called America's Cup Challenge or something.
Well, I think there is a game called that. I don't think it's anything to do with this one, but they are alarmingly similar. I think it's in the games that weren't. We might do a bit of digging and have a look at that, but
we'll have a look. But there you go. It's all right. I think I get why you like it, but it's not for me. So there you go. Sailing. We went sailing.
Aye, Captain.
Aye, indeed. Let's move on to our next one. That was aye. This is SOS. More letters.
I'm glad you got this one.
Or the game with no name. Or what is
even though it's called SOS, yeah. Right.
Even though it's called SOS, yeah. This took me ages to find as well, but it's just stupid. Anyway, this is another budgeter, £2. So Sydney the droid has crash landed in the main city of Alpha 5, SETI Alpha 5, one might say. Which made me laugh.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
SETI Alpha 5. And it's your job to guide him to safety through a rotational isometric adventure. 3 words that I'm sure will send shivers of delight down your spine.
I've just pooped.
Or make you scream at the mere thought of a bug crawling in your ear. So you have to find the radio. This is how interesting this is. You've got to find the radio that's been thrown thrown out of the wreckage in the crash in order to call for help and get out of there. It's like a crap ET. The city is made up of narrow paths down which Sydney can bounce. It doesn't work because Sydney's a weird design. I'll come to that in a bit. You collect things like discs and coins which you can use to solve the puzzles and open up ways forward. So because some of the walkways are blocked by certain things. Patrolling the walkways are enemy robots who will eat Sydney on sight. None of this makes sense.
No.
Robots don't eat.
No.
This is like the bread on the Chimera. It's just stupid. The visuals are okay, I guess. There's an interesting day to night cycle as you play with the colours becoming more washed out, which is quite a nice effect. I did quite like that. But it's that medium res isometric look but it's better than that one we played last time. What was that crap one? Prodigy. At least this looked better than that. For £2, they're all right. The music, though, oh my God, the music. It's awful. It's one of the worst I've heard in a long time. It'll have you gouging the ears from the side of your head in about 5 seconds. And if that doesn't do it, then the sound effect emitted every time you rotate Sydney will do. Because the way this controls it's rotational. So it's not, left for top left, right. You have to rotate Sydney.
Yep.
So you've got to point. So it's a rotational isometric adventure. So you've got to point him in the direction and push forward to go forward. It's just stupid. So Sydney is this. How can you describe Sydney? It's just like an on its side U. It's just a hook thing. I don't know. It's just stupid. It's like one bouncing. I can't describe him. It's £2. If you like these sort of things, yeah, okay. For a couple of quid, if you like your chimeras and you like your Molecule Man and you like those other kind of ones we've looked at that do this sort of stuff all the time, it's okay if you like them. It's more of that. It's literally more of those kind of games. It doesn't move at treacle speed, at least. Better than that Prodigy rubbish, which was full price. This would have probably kept you entertained if you like this. There's a massive caveat here. The caveat is if you like those kind of things, and we've seen enough of these kind of things now to know that there are certain people that do like those kind of things, weird, strange people, but they do like them. So if you like that, then that's up to you. Each to your own, and don't bother me with it because I didn't like this. It's insipid and annoying, and the sound was enough to drive me to the off switch in very little time. It is one of those in budget form, and that's all you're going to get. And if you like that, then that's on you. So, Graham, did you? I'm guessing you did not enjoy your time with the ABBA titled SOS.
No, SOS, the game with no name, but it does have a name, doesn't it? SOS. This is from the maker of Silu. This is from Jeff Foley.
Silu, that was the other one. Yeah.
So this is from Mr. Silu. So this is a medium-res isometric adventure where you play a robot wandering around looking for stuff. A droid and seek game. Now, you know how I feel about droid and seek games. I don't like them. This is ticking all the usual boxes. So, annoying rotational control. Tick. Badly realised main sprite that's oddly small. Tick. Small playing area, which means everything looks cramped and samey. Tick. Bloody annoying music that will drive a saint to the sea. Tick. Squeaky high-pitched sound effects that drive you mad. Tick. Silly death logic between rooms as they flick screen. I noticed that sometimes I went to another room and just dropped off a platform and died. I hate that kind of thing. The colours on this game are weird. It's a blend of purples, browns and yellows. Nobody wants those colour combinations.
Nope.
So that's like if you've been beaten up by somebody. Those are the colours that you come out with, aren't they? It does move slightly quicker than the usual game of this type, but then again, there is very little on the screen and you can only move in a prescribed path. It's cramped and you have to work too hard to distinguish things and it's no fun, which means it's the off button for me with this.
Yep.
But it's $1.99 and does that offer something to the extended puzzle play people out there that like that kind of thing? Maybe. But for me, no. Even at $1.99, this game is a bunch of arse and just not worth the time. If I have to work hard to distinguish my character from the backgrounds, then you've done something wrong. End of line for this. End of line.
Yeah, you're right. You should be able to distinguish yourself quite clearly from what's going on around you. If you can't do that, then you've made a bad thing.
Yes, you've chosen poorly.
Very poorly. No, SOS was never going to be for us, was it?
No,
it was never ever going to be for us, and that's okay. You know, we're happy in our lives. We've come to terms with our isometric lives. We don't see the world in at 45 degrees.
We don't.
We don't see it at two across and one up. We don't. Sounds like a crossword puzzle. It's SOS. That's that one. No, it's not for us. Maybe the next one is. Maybe. Tell us all about dime bars. Remember dime bars?
I do.
Armourdillo.
Hey.
Graham, Armourdillo. Do you want to tell us about Armourdillo?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, okay.
Please.
So this is from Codemasters. It's created by somebody called Guilo Zicci. It's got a nice title screen when you start the game. Okay, just remember that because you're going to need to hold on to that. So the game itself, Mobanti, which is the planet. It's an actual planet, which is under attack from us, me and you, the Earth folk. So we are determined to kill everyone on that planet. And they have no capability to fight. So none at all. So they have no ability or willing to fight. So apart from a brave soul, a Mobanet, and this is what Zapped described them as, so somebody from the Mobanti people, I guess, decide to rescue as many of the Mobanti people as possible and stash them in a deep underground bunker. That is a plan that does not work, and it's been tried and tested. It's a see War of the Worlds for we're going to live underground plan. Doesn't work. And so you've got to pilot the biotank, whatever that is, for some reason, and which is called the Armourdillo, in a bid to get the folk to safety. So in order to do this, you've got to first go left with the controls, destroy the force field, which allows the pod containing the Mobanti people through. Once that happens, you grab the pod and drag it to the right, where it will eventually meet the bunker. And obviously there's things in the sky and in the way to stop you doing that. So the idea of the game is that you do that going back and forth all the time while there are Earth ships attacking you. Back and forth. If they touch you, it drains your power, which you have a limited amount of. Eventually, if you run out of power, it's death. And the bottom half of the screen is essentially the UI, so you've got power indicator in there and that kind of stuff. So when you run out of power, the game's over. The opening menu of this game is a raster bar-infused colorscape. So lots of demo-y kind of rastery colours, with bitty and odd music. The graphics are chunky and medium res. You control the Armourdillo with a joystick, so you move left and right, with pushing further on those directions increases your speed, which is really annoying. You go up and down, which rotates your cannon, which fires a limited range of directional missiles, straightforward, and also lobs bombs, which seem to have no real impact. The enemies never really bother you that much as you trundle back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And there is very limited payoff. Sounds are very basic here. The music is passable, but also forgettable. And the main issue here is that the game is boring. It doesn't move at a reasonable pace for sure, and the premise is simple. And we have often heralded games for being too complex and too slow. Here, the game would be fine if there was more of a payoff, more action, and more excitement. It's like some kind of theme park monorail simulation with added things to shoot, so you just go back and forth on the monorail, shooting at the things and pick up people and taking them to the other place and doing that kind of thing. It's dull. Even at $1.99, this is dull. The graphics in this aren't terrible in terms of the way they're drawn. The backgrounds aren't awful compared to some of the things we've seen. This kind of level of Zapped review. So I think the 14% they gave it is a little bit harsh. I don't think this isn't a great game, and it's awful in all sorts of ways, but I don't think it deserves 14%. I think it's not a great game for all sorts of reasons, mainly because it's boring, but I think it probably deserved a little bit more of the 30 to 40s, if I was honest. So I think they really just kicked this game in the groin. So this is a man kicks ball in groin, Simpsons type thing. But what about you?
Yeah. I thought the music and the visuals were actually quite decent. I didn't mind the music; it's quite catchy. I'd never heard it before, and it was quite okay. It reminded me of somebody, and it reminded me of someone's player, and I couldn't quite think who. The sort of sounds and the style of it, but I couldn't quite put my hand on who I thought it was. So, but the problem is as you've rightly pointed out, it needs more of a game here. There is something as an idea, but the limited gameplay on it becomes very tiresome very quickly. Shoot delays to pick up the thing, to drop the thing off and repeat and try and shoot enemies with the oddly confusing rotational controls of up and down to rotate the gun.
Yeah.
Why not just use up and the up diagonals to shoot? Which would feel way more obvious to me. But, what do I know, I guess? What do I know? Trying not to run out of menus. I think there's, the guy who's made this, I think he's probably a competent programmer because there's some nice visual touches. Like you said, the title screen's quite nice. They've obviously done it all themselves by the sound of it, by the looks of it, I don't know. But it feels like my first game fodder. It's like, made this, and then, all right, we'll just release it. And to me, if I'd have looked at this, and this is the thing I don't understand, just make it a more traditional shoot-'em-up, Defender style, ferry the pods across. If you make it like, a bit faster, that you're flying up and down, left and right, grab the pod, got to take it to the right. If you're ferrying them, but you're getting stuff coming at you, shooting you and things, and a bit more action, this would have been all right.
Yeah,
because the kind of something like that. There's the actual mechanics are kind of there. The moving left and right and everything. Just allow me to move up and down, more defendery style, drop zone style, whatever. It would have been way more enjoyable than this because it reminded me in a way of like Tony Crowther games, like Suicide Express and stuff. You're moving along a track and just doing nothing and just ferrying. The first level you ferry them back and forth 3 times. The next level, is it 4 times? The next level 5 times. It's like, oh, for God's sake. There's no variation in this whatsoever to the actual playing of the game, and the actual shooting stuff is so limited to be pointless. So I agree, 14% is probably a bit harsh. 30, probably, but it's not a good game. It's just an empty game, and £2. This would not have entertained me on a Sunday afternoon for very long, I have to say.
No,
here we go. Armourdillo. No, don't know. Let's move along. Arcade conversion coming up next. We've had a good arcade conversion already, this one. Let's see if the next one is. So, why do I have to review this? Oh, I do. This is Shao-Lin's Road. So, you play the role of Lee in this version of Shao-Lin's Road. There are many versions of this, which you play different characters in different versions of this. But in this version, you play Lee, and this is a triple layer.
Triple layer. Triple layer.
I'm not doing it again. Jumpy beat 'em up thing. And so you play Lee. You are the recently crowned master of Qin Shao-Lin. And this has bestowed upon you the ability to kill a man with a single blow. Ha!
If only.
If only the collision detection would allow you to. With this skill, you head out onto the road, whereupon you enter a shady temple full of ne'er-do-wells who will feel the power of your mighty chin kick. Ha! Chin kick. Crap. What entails is you bouncing from layer to layer, doing your mighty kick and hoping it connects with the random enemies who run along the layers. If they come into contact with you 3 times, you are knocked unconscious and you lose a life. Lose 3 lives and it's game over, man. This is, of course, another arcade conversion, so it follows that logic. You got 3 lives, that's done. The problem here is that the original, I don't particularly like the original game. Don't think it's that good. But so in the vein that Legend of Cage wasn't a very good game to start with, although Legend of Cage supposedly this was a big influence on a Legend of Cage, supposedly from what I read around. But that wasn't very good to start with either.
That's the blind leading the blind, right there.
Yeah, so you're just making. It's like someone's made a shit pie and they've given you the recipe, but has left out some of the ingredients. So you've just tried to fill it with. Well, it was what kind of shit was it? Horse, dog? Oh, I don't know. Just put human in it. So they'll just put different shit in a pie, and that's the thing. The worst shit. So you can kick and you can jump kick. The problem is the collision detection is so off. You have no idea if you're hitting or not. Now, at least in the arcade, they bounce back, they recoil, they look like a hit. Here, they just don't do anything. So you've no idea whether you're hitting anyone or not. I'm guessing that some enemies need to be hit more than once, but like Yi Kung Fu 2 before this, you kick too slow, so they'll always hit you. You lose 3 lives, you're dead, you're done, you're gone. There's no reaction when you do kick them aside from them. They just disappear. They just disappear.
Yeah, they do.
The mightiest... that chin kick is so mighty, it transports them out of this dimension. Into another world, another realm. It just disintegrates them. Blah, gone. But you're not sure if you need to hit them multiple times or if the collision detection has wandered off into a corner in a huff at being programmed so badly. That's all I could think of. It's borderline unplayable, this game, because of that. So in the arcade, you have the flying kick is quite powerful. It's quite big. But in this, it's really muted and crap. The enemies are rubbish. The animation's shit. The music's all over the place. It's converted by The Edge. Not U2's The Edge, although it might as well have been. And I'm guessing they've picked this up before Konami took it all in-house because it's Konami. Is it Konami? It's a Konami game, isn't it? Seeing this, I get why. Shit Chin's Road is just my final comment on this. It's a terrible, terrible conversion. I don't know if it's... I've read around. I had heard that this was some kind of Yi Kung Fu sequel or something, but it's not. It's not. I think some people have sort of said it is because in the arcade you've got blue trousers on and a white top in the arcade. So I think there's that link to Oolong. But in this you're Lee and chin kicking. So this is just awful. This is a terrible conversion. 47% is too generous on this, especially for a tenner. I thought this was rubbish. What about you?
I quite agree. This is a dreadful version of an arcade, and I went to play the arcade as well. So I played the arcade and this version side by side, and all I can really say is that one version, the arcade, lent some of the things to the C64 version. So the graphics here are really rough. They're a rough-looking version of the arcade with badly drawn enemies and sprites. It's kind of chunky and colourful, but it doesn't quite work. The backgrounds, as you'd expect, they're kind of weird versions of the arcade, but the platforms you leap up and down on and the flick screen and scrolling doesn't quite work. The issues here are, 1, the game pace of your character is too slow. So it feels like the fighting feels sluggish and it lacks the frantic pace that's required, which is in the arcade. So 2, the enemies have no logic, which means they just run around aimlessly and just vanish if and when you have kicked them. So there's no real payoff. You don't know really if you've done anything. There's no impact or payoff and that is a big problem in this game because you need to know that you've hit them. In the arcade, if you hit them enough times, they fly backwards, they fly off the screen, they fly off the platforms. There's a lot of characters flying about. You don't get that in this. I get that that's something that is a limitation of the platform, but that's a key part of the experience. So don't sacrifice that. Sacrifice other things that you might have to sacrifice, but not the fact that the characters fly off things. Collecting the magic things seemed completely arbitrary and it made no sense in this game whatsoever. So I ended up picking up the yo-yo and other things and firing them. And I'm not sure how I did it or why. It didn't really matter. And for 10 quid, really, has this got the longevity of a game?
No.
Has this got the things that you need to support you for that £10 worth of journey? No, of course it doesn't. No, this is the same arcade logic that Yi Kung Fu applied, only Yi Kung Fu applied it precisely with the sound and the music and all the things that are required by that game. This has none of those things. So it's a very boring jump up and down the platform simulation type game with very boring payoffs for the fighting. Nothing really makes a lot of sense. The graphics are badly drawn variants of the arcade. And okay, they kind of get away with that, but you're missing so much of the key parts of the game, and certainly the arcade game, that it doesn't feel like it has the frantic pace or the character sort of movement. It just lacks all the things that make the arcade important, which is something they note in the Zapped review. They said this is Shao-Lin's road without any of the road and the Shao-Lin part. It's just perfunctory fighting game logic applied to a very boring scenario with very limited experience. That is just dull. And you have to look at this game in the context of a fighting game and think to yourself, there are still IK Plus and Way the Exploding Fist games. And at this point, we're talking 18 months old, maybe 15 to 18 months old. They are still better than this garbage.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
even Fist 2, and as much as I don't like Fist 2 is a better game with more dynamic attention to what you're trying to do. Even though it's crap and slow and everything else, it's still a better game than this arcade conversion, because this fails to do what the arcade was attempting to do. This fails to do that. So what you end up with is really, really, really repetitive nonsense. And at least Fist 2 had the wherewithal to take that into account for what it was. So no, if you're going to play this kind of game, you may as well go back to IK. Well, eventually of course it'll be IK Plus, but this is awful. And I can't believe the Edge have even lent themselves to this nonsense. No, this is just rubbish. So what a shame. What a terrible shame.
Yeah.
But no, not a surprise really, though.
Not really. Nicely drawn title screen, though.
Yeah, the title screen was good, I have to say. And that's the only thing I can say.
Yeah. You think, because when you first see that, you're thinking, oh, could be all right. And then the game starts, and then it's like, no, it's not. Shao-Lin's Road can just carry on down the road as far as I'm concerned. Can do one. Let's move along. 2 left. Let's bring these things to a close. To Graham, you've got another budget title.
Hello.
And so you can tell us all about the aftermath, or just aftermath.
Well, I am just getting all the greats here.
I just did that Shao-Lin's Road.
I know, it's just random. It's just all random. This is from David Cooper. Do you remember David Cooper?
I do.
Yeah.
But remind me.
Yeah, well, that's according to the title screen. It's the guy that made Robobolt.
He was.
So, and he also, in the Powerhouse, which were previously the Alpha Omega software, released all sorts of crazy, unleashed lots of crazy crap upon the C64 world. So, here we are with Aftermath. This is a Xevious clone, essentially. A bad Xevious clone. I'm going to go through the story very quickly. So, the Earth is in ruins. It's devastated by an invasion from the Saurons. You're the last starfighter, essentially, and you've got to fly over the landscape and blow stuff up. And you've got a reticule, which you can do. It's the look and the feel is very similar to Black Hawk, which was a game that predates this by 2.5 years and is way better. So this is essentially a Xevious clone. So if you remember the Xevious game that we spoke about, you're a spaceship, top-down, shoot-em-up, shmup, with a target reticule slightly above your sprite, and you can shoot straight ahead of you and drop bombs on the ground things. The idea is that you do that and keep going, and you can, progress through the game. Problem here is that this is a bad game. So apart from the fact that you've got to put your target reticle precisely on the ground things and pull back on the joystick and fire to drop the bombs, which won't hit them ever, not that you'll know. Everything about this is just functionally inept. To get further into the game, you've got to keep firing and shooting and firing and shooting and firing and shooting. The objective of the game is to destroy the enemy base. If you get to that point, you've got to keep on flowing. There's 10 different alien waves, I think, in the game. I'm not sure if there's how many levels there are. I don't know. What I do know is that this main game of this Xevious type shmup, scroll 'em up, shoot 'em up clone features badly drawn sprites, flying over a badly drawn scrolling landscape, shooting at single line enemies and attempting to drop bombs on buildings, which is impossibly difficult. Everything looks quite bad. It feels quite unfinished, and honestly, I'm pretty sure it is. This is either a first attempt at a game by a person, and it should never have been released, or it's an abysmal load of crap that should never have been released. Either way, it should never have been released. I don't care that this game was budget. This is an absolute nonsense that this game would be released and people would be expected to pay good money for this. This is absolutely shocking. When you get to the various screens that you choose from, it's an insult. It's an absolute insult. This is a Commodore font-loaded crap menu screen of options when you get there. This game feels so unpolished and so unprofessional. It beggars belief this was released. And even if this was $1.99, okay, it's $1.99. I'm sorry, but no. You're still asking £2 of people's money, and this is just crap. This is not a £2 low-budget version of Xevious. This is an absolute piece of crap. It is not worth any of the money that they were asking for it. And it shocks and saddens me that this game would be allowed to be released. This shouldn't have been released. This should not. This is not a finished game. This is half a finished idea, maybe. And its graphics and its sounds and everything else shout that from the highest point. This is terrible. This is wrong. This game should have never been released. It's awful. But I'm sure you loved it.
Sure, I didn't. I can't believe this actually got twice Armourdillo, 27%. Armourdillo is not great, but it's better than this. Shit Xevious clone is shit, basically. It takes some going to make the C64 port of Xevious, which we already didn't like, look good. But, here we are. It has stupid controls. Why is it back and shoot to bomb? Because it means you bomb all the time. You move backwards and try and shoot.
Yeah.
Just normally, which is stupid. At least Xevious just mapped them all to fire together, which is fine. The sprites are terrible, rubbish high-res sprites. And then after about 3 waves, you get medium-res, multicoloured sprites.
Rubbish.
It's just, I don't understand. The collision detection on the bombs, as you've noted, is just, it's from the Shao-Lin's road level of collision detection. It's slow, it's dull, it's ugly, and it sounds shit. It has a terrible title screen full of text and does that thing where it scrolls the screen on to start with. And actually, just as a side on that, I'm wondering whether people, how Nemesis starts you in space and then you fly to the thing and then you get, you have that little preamble, don't you, where you sort of power up and then you get to the level. I wonder if that's what people are thinking they're doing.
Yeah, maybe.
And they've seen that and they've gone, we need to start with a thing, but completely missing the point that Nemesis has you starting shooting stuff in space, but you're in space.
Yeah, I mean, the only saving grace here is the sound effects are pretty good. They've got good filtering, good sound effects.
The sound effects are all right, but it's an awful pox of a game, even at £2.
Oh, it's a scourge. It's awful.
Yeah, really
it's
bad.
Rabies. This is a rabies of a game.
Yeah, this is scabies.
It is. It's rancid. It is.
We didn't like Aftermath. Let's just move along because we've got one game left. And here we've got our last game. Okay, so this is a high scorer. This is the second high scorer, I think, of the... This is 87%. This is Ranarama, coming in at £9. So we started this episode with a Gauntlet-style game. We're going to end it with another Gauntlet-style game. However, first impressions of this are not as good because you're reminded here... as we were, not with Into the Eagle's Nest, but you're reminded more of Dandy than Gauntlet with the visual stylings here, and that doesn't bode well as an intro to this. Okay, so first of all, but let's put that aside for the moment. This is by Hewson and Graft Gold, and it's a conversion of the original Spectrum game, which is made by Steve Turner. Steve Turner has worked on quite a few games. It's converted by Gary J. Foreman, so we'll come to that in a bit. First impressions are not good. Black sprites and single colour rooms, and it looks ugly. This game looks ugly, which is, okay. You're gonna have to take some convincing here. There's no way around it. The game looks ugly and suffers from some quite awful slowdown at times when things get busy, and that's not good in what is a game that's based on shooting stuff. But again, let's put this aside because let's see what's going. Because it's 87%. There must be something going on here. This is a game that, aside from that, has had a lot of thought put into it. The story of this is pretty simple. So you play Mervyn, another sorcerer's apprentice. You play a lot of apprentices, don't you? We were lab assistants and stuff. We're always assistants, never the scientist or the magician. And after you've miscast a spell, you've turned yourself into a frog, which is kind of lucky because whilst he did this, evil warlocks have shown up at the castle and they kill everyone and take out everybody else. So they kill everyone, but they don't kill you because you're a frog. So that leaves Merlin as the only one left to avenge everyone and take out those evil warlocks that have taken over the castle. I think it's a castle. Never actually says, but I think it's a castle. I'm going to say it's a castle. They're in a castle. The game does have some clever ideas, and in this respect, I think it owes probably more to Paradroid rather than Gauntlet. And that comes as no surprise, seeing as Steve Turner had made Quasitron before this and helped on the design of Paradroid itself. So this game plays out over a series of rooms and levels that reveal themselves as you move through them. And some of them only take up a small part of the screen, and until you move through the door, the next room is hidden to you. So as you explore the castle, it's quite hard to describe this. Only the rooms that you've explored show up on the screen as you move from one to the next. This is similar to Paradroid in the way that you have that line of sight, so that enemies and stuff only show up when you enter the room. This takes it the next stage further and actually doesn't reveal the room until you've actually been in it. So you might have one screen of this, might have 3 rooms on it. You're in one. When you move through the door, the next one appears. That's kind of what happens. So the gauntlet side of this thing comes from the enemies themselves. They spawn from spawners in the room, and these spawners can be shot to stop them spawning anything further. And you need to do this as the enemies just keep on coming if you don't. Typical gauntlet style. There are also tiles on the floor as well, some of which allow you to look at the map, and this shows all the rooms you have so far explored. There's a lift, which allows you to move from one level of the castle to the next. And there are other rooms which allow you to modify the spells you can cast. You have offensive and defensive spells to take out enemies. And at times a small puzzle will happen where you have to rearrange the letters of the word Ranarama for a reason which I didn't quite understand. There are also glyphs which allow you to change up your spells for more powerful ones if you've collected enough. And you will need to do this if you wish to progress to the later levels. The whole point of all this is to track down the warlocks on the level and kill them, and then hoover up their spells to make yourself more powerful to head further down the levels. So this is all quite complex game logic and design going on here.
Yep.
And you really have to have your wits about you as you work out your way forward. Oh, and also as well, don't forget, there are energy orbs floating about at times to get your energy back, because you basically got an energy bar. If you lose all your energy once, I didn't quite understand how this was working. I didn't quite understand what was going on here. You revert to mortal. You have to cast a spell to get back from not being mortal. I'm not quite sure what you were in the first place. If you don't, then losing all your energy a second time means game over. There is a lot to this game, and if it sounds like my explanation is a tad confused, then that is because I was a tad confused playing this. I don't doubt there's a lot to get your teeth into here, and the game is obviously quite clever. However, it's but ugly, and this held me back from engaging with it in any meaningful way. It's kind of like the controls. It all felt a bit twitchy and fiddly, and I just seemed to roam from room to room, and stuff would happen, and other screens would appear. And I wanted to like this, as I kind of like the idea, and there's some of the design elements I do like. And I'm not normally I can, if the game's all right, I can see past it sometimes, but it really did put me off in this game. It just looks like a naff Spectrum game. And I did actually look at the Spectrum version as well, and the Spectrum version is a lot nicer looking. It's a lot cleaner looking. And there's some nicer graphics on the sort of spawning elements as well and stuff like that. So the Spectrum version is a lot nicer. I wish that there were other games. What was that other one we saw? Dynamite Dan, where they'd taken that Spectrum template, but utilised some of the C64's visuals, like in Dan itself. And I wish they'd done that here. Maybe, if they'd have made this look like Druid, I think they'd have had a cracking game on their hands, because I could have got past that. As it is, it's all very bitty and it looks like Dandy, and I don't want to be reminded of Dandy. I would have been more likely to engage with this and wanted to sort of progress and get on with it, but I just don't feel the visuals draw me in enough to want to get to grips with all these different systems that are at play, because there's quite a lot of them, and it's all too bitty and too all over the place. And it just didn't engage with me, and I just got pushed away from it a little bit. That's what I got. I think there's a good game here, but it needed polish. It needed C64ing, for want of a better word. I don't know. How did you find this? What did you think?
Yeah, I have to agree completely. On the surface, the game graphics do put you off. There's no doubt about that. They are bitty, they're dandy-like. There's single colour sprites. It's not very appealing. The display is kind of messy. It's kind of a drawn, weird variant of colours, including purples and yellows and blues, and there's pathways in the rooms, and it's interspersed with solid brick-coloured enemies and sprites, and it's just a bit ungainly and a bit unfriendly to the eye. Your frog sprite, likewise, is just, like I say, it's just a black thing in the background. It merges into the background very easily. None of the graphics in this game are going to set your graphic world on fire. However, the game itself is fast and the pace is frantic. I like the way the rooms are revealed.
Yeah.
As you enter into and around the screen. I quite like that. It's a different idea, and it's a different take to the Gauntlet idea. So it's something a bit unusual. The floor tiles that show you your map view, so when you hover over and press the button, I like that. And the way you can pop about. And there's a weird mix of Attic Attack logic and Gauntlet in there. But those are very much Paradroid things. And there's a heavy influence of Paradroid in this game. Mm-hmm. So the idea that you can move around a map, shooting at things, and there are different things to shoot at with different layers and it felt like a kind of a weird Gauntlet-y version of Paradroid. I think, without a doubt, Paradroids are heavily influenced on the way this game operates, especially in terms of the way you go over a certain thing on the floor and there's a map and you can see different views and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It lacks the graphic chops. It does. There's no way around that. There's a decent game in there, though. And at least it's kind of fun and engaging, and there's a sense of progression, and you can keep at it and progress. When you meet the warlocks in the game, that's quite an interesting experience because it sort of is different to the rest of the game. But given the weaknesses versus the strength, this is a good game where the design far outweighs the graphics. I hadn't spent a lot of time with this back in the day. I haven't. Ranarama was a kind of a game I kind of like, oh, it's Ranarama. And I had it, and I'd loaded it, and I played it, but it was a bit like a switch on, switch off. I don't think I was genuinely put off by the graphics and the sound, which are particularly weak here. But on replay, I think this is actually quite an interesting title. It's a good take on the Gauntlet type genre. Is it better than Eagle's Nest? No. I think sometimes you just got to get the formula right. This is a bit of a half breed between Gauntlet and Druid. And there's parts that work because it's Druidy-like, and there's parts that work because it's Gauntlet-like, and it's not quite working all over. Eagle's Nest works because it sticks to its central core logic, which is a guy walking around, or a character, sorry, walking around, shooting stuff, finding things, and moving on. This has a little bit too much intrigue and not enough graphical dexterity to carry that forward. And I think it is a little bit, it is, I hate to say it, very dandy-like. And that isn't a great thing. Single colour sprites at this point. Now, we're now into 1987, really? I'm just thinking, you know what? We're only a few months away from Whizball, so let's start thinking about what the C64 can do instead of what the C64 can convert and do. And this is a game that clearly is a conversion from other platforms. I think the tragedy is here that with a bit more thought and a bit more graphic dexterity from Hewson, this could have been a really good game. It's clearly borrowing from their own pantheon in terms of the Hewson games around Paradroid and other stuff. It wouldn't have, and sound effects especially, it wouldn't have taken a lot to really think about that. That isn't where it ended up, so I liked it. I thought it was okay. I don't think it necessarily deserved 87%. I would have given it more in the 70s, but at the same time, it's not a crap game. I think it just, if you can get past the graphics, you'd be doing well. But you've got to get past them, and that's a big thing on a game that's reliant on its graphics to do stuff. So
yeah. I think if you're going to go play this, go play it on the Spectrum. It looks better, it looks cleaner.
Play it on the Spectrum, exactly that. And Hewson did that a lot, didn't they? So some of their games were better on the Spectrum, some of their games were not. Yeah. And they're quite famous for that, you know.
I think Synapse is supposed to be better on the Spectrum, isn't it? It's another one of theirs.
Insert Nebulous here.
Oh, yeah. I think if they'd have taken this and just looked at it and looked at Druid Into the Eagle's Nest, which obviously came at the same time, but just looked at it and gone, let's actually not make these sprites. It probably would have got rid of the slowdown, tightened up that bit, because obviously as well, the slowdown's never good when you get a lot, and there's a lot of those sprites just moving around quickly. You've got no chance because you can only shoot in 8 directions and you can't move fast enough to get away. And I wasn't a big fan as well. I don't know if it was you, but I didn't like the fact that you had that difference, didn't you? So you press fire, not moving, it did that some defensive spell, and you had to be pointing in a direction to shoot. It's like, okay, I get what you're going for here, but it's not always. I didn't find it intuitive.
No, I agree. You know, the surface level of this game, but if you dive into getting the spells and getting the stuff, that's when it really starts to not work. No.
Yeah.
Because they don't work, these kind of games at that level. They don't, you know. That's why Gauntlet keeps it simple. You know, if you want a potion or if you want something magical, you have to run over it and collect it because that's the way that game works. That's the game logic. They don't prescribe certain requirements around that. It is what it is. If you belie that in these games and add complication, you're setting yourself up for a disaster.
Yeah, go play on the Spectrum. It's probably better. There we go. That's it. So that's it for games for this month, for this week, for the first half of May 1987. What have we looked at? We looked at Into the Eagle's Nest, which we liked. Grange Hill, which was Dog Egg. Equalizer, which was, the Werner, which was incomprehensible, gibberishy nonsense. Nemesis, which was a cracking conversion. We then looked at, in the second half, oh God, so much music. We then looked at Sailing. SOS, the game with no name, even though it clearly has a name. Armourdillo, Shao-Lin's Road. Shitlin's Road. Aftermath. After Crap. And then could have been better if they'd have done a bit more to support, I think, Ranarama. So there you go. That's your lot for this episode. We've covered a lot. I'm just going to say before we go that if you wish to support the podcast in a financial sense, you can head on over to patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. And if you wish to support us there, we'd be great. It's the cost of a pint of beer, and there's cool stuff. There's lots of nice stuff going on our Discord and things like that, which you get access to. And, just a nice community building there. So if you want to be part of that, come and join us. It would be lovely if you did that, but obviously, no. And obviously, you get the podcast early as well. That's one thing as well, as you get them before the weekend, so you can have a nice weekend listen.
And other untold delights.
Yeah, loads of untold delights. I mean, Graham's often dancing in there. It's a thing to see. It really is.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think I've got anything more to add. No. Graham, have you got anything you want to add? Wish to add?
No, nothing at all.
All right. So, on that note, I think I'll say I have been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham Reddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Reddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.